You said that you love winning. What drives you more, the love of winning or the hate of losing?
Maybe equally, maybe both. I don't like losing, and I do like winning.
Say his name and he appears.
This is a friendship that'll never ever end.
Greetings and welcome to Winning Tonight. How's everybody doing out there? Hope you're all doing and living well. Start the show off as always by thanking all those awesome people out there in the winner circle make it happen on a monthly basis. Thank you guys so much for being part of the solution. Your support means everything. And a special thanks to Shelly Wolfram and Ronnie Jam, who also supports over on Rumble on a monthly basis as well. We're broadcasting live tonight on Rumble, YouTube, and X, and away we go on the Thursday edition. It's been kind of a repetitive news cycle week, if you will, where day to day the same story keeps minorly evolving. So, played Tuesday by ear, and here we are on Thursday, and I was hoping more things to talk about, but there is things we could talk about, but just not a lot happening in this time period right now. Little things here and there, but mainly still tariff talk. Still a week later, we're still talking tariffs, and so we're going to get into that and what could really be going on is in terms of this grander tariff initiative and where it's heading. So we'll just talk about that kind of stuff, and then we'll hit a border security with Tom Holman update from Arizona, and we'll do a press conference with him. And then there's some there was a cabinet press conference today as well, and that will further include talks about China. So big old well-rounded global politics show tonight, if you will. Well, let me get out there and thank all these awesome people who are here in the front row, my VIPs for the evening. MJ, how you doing? Jay likes the coldest drinks. She's here first. She gets the coldest drink in the house. There you go. Heidi, how's it going? Heidi, hanging out. Heidi over there, here on the Rumble side. I mean, here on the YouTube side, there on the Rumble side, holding it down. Thank you so much, Heidi. And there is Wolfram, my friend Wolfram. How you doing? Thank you so much for posting these links. And guys, remember when you're here to always listen to the wolf. He knows what he's talking about. As he wipes his paws, he loops in and out. And that's how you know the alpha mod is in the house. All right, and down the list we go. We got Shelly talking trash and truth, our hostess with the mostest, welcoming everybody in with big hugs this evening. There she is on all three platforms. Everywhere you want to be, she's already there. All right, and oh look, there's Daisy Girl Williams dancing in sideways, having a good old time as always. What's going on, Daisy Girl Williams, and how have you been? How have you been? You've been working at the big farm a bit. No internet for a while. No internet at the big farm. Oh man, we got to get you guys some Starlink. We got to get Daisy some Starlink. She can just wear it on her head, and that way she's never out of reach. We'll get you a Starlink helmet to wear. And that way you're always connected to us. How about that? Sound good, Daisy? We're going to walk this one on in before we get to the main topics. How's everybody doing? I'm trying to make the beginning of the show more conversational. You guys like common conversation, don't you? So now is a chance to get some talk in before we get to the main stories. And I get to I get to flash, so that's what I do best. Um, and how's everybody doing with the early spring weather? Uh, it's that time of year here where we get a nice blanket of green pollen, and that does numbers on you as well. So, yes. Yes, indeed. Okay, guys, stop hitting me with so many questions and comments. Slow down. I can't read all of them that fast. Um, we got a good crew here on this side. What's going on the Rumble side? What's over there, Rumble? How you doing? Everybody hanging out over there? Cool. Cool. Well, we'll walk it on in here. The end of this month, I'm going to be going on a interview show. The guy named Daramouth, who's all over Rumble, invited me to come on. So I'm going to do that on the 30th. So there won't be a Wednesday show that week. That's kind of hit or miss, anyways. But anyway, so we'll be going over there. That's what we'll be doing that night. And I don't know what we'll talk about. It'll just be play it by ear. I'm sure it'll be kind of just like, what do you do? All that stuff. So we'll do it. It'll be fun. Something new. Something new. Yes. Indeed. All right. Let me go. Oh, yeah. I didn't start this up, did I? Give me a few seconds to start this up here. Try to always have my YouTube studio open. And there we go. All right. Put this on live chat. And sure, why not? I always ask you how you celebrate. Oh no, confetti. Oops. Okay. I thought I closed the tab. Almost closed the tab. Yes, next weekend, WrestleMania weekend, there'll be no winning Saturday night. There you go. That is coming up. That is coming up. Okay. You talking about tariffs, right? Because I have no clue what's going on at this point. Yeah, we'll be talking about that. Mainly like, China's pushing back and they keep trying to, we'll charge you more. But is that going to work out for them? Is that just a bluff? Is that just a bluff that Trump was anticipating? I don't think it's going to work out for them. There's a lot of reasons why. Did you know that China has likely inflated its population numbers over the years? I saw a really interesting piece on that. And that, the real number is probably under under a billion. Like it's probably like 300 to 800 million, I think, depending on who you listen to. And that they're like, they've lost a lot more people than they've talked about, and due to their one child policy, due to COVID, due to other things, poverty probably. But we think of them as, oh, they got 1.4 billion people, but they really don't. Why would anybody trust a communist? Tell you the truth about anything at all, ever? I mean, I don't know why we believe them, right? We don't have real access to their census data, but people who actually we're gonna hear from some creators tonight that actually specialize in China. They specialize in China. To make sure I got that. We'll play a little bit of that one too. Oh, this girl. Vanishing Billions, exposing China's population myth. I'll save that one over here. Like I said, I'm just walking this one in. Isn't there a shorter version of this? I swear I saw a shorter version of this just a second ago. Interesting. Oops. Yeah, sorry, I was looking some stuff up here. Hmm. I should have saved it. All right. Well, at least I got it saved. I got the long one saved. Um, we can watch some of that maybe. All right. Hey, hey, hey. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I need to hear someone with some sense after last week. Let's go. All right. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Yes, thank you so much for that as well. I wouldn't trust a communist any more than I would trust our politicians. I don't trust them at all. Yeah, I hear you on that. But especially China. Why would you listen to anything they had to say about anything at all? I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, communists lie. They love to do it. They love to do it. Hmm. Interesting. All right. All right. Well, I can't find that one. Oh, what's that one? Save that one too. Let's add into the context for this evening before we get into it here. Some of these are kind of the same. But the first one I want to play for you this evening, the master plan, I think goes into a lot of good details about the history that the CCP has been gaming the global economy for decades now, unabated and enabled to do so. And this move that we're doing right now, I think it's going to end up really calling them out on all this. Other countries are coming to 75 countries to date, come to make a deal or do some have some kind of negotiations with us over this. And and they're the ones who really push back and they think they're going to do something about it. They realize though that if they have to play fair with us, then that's the end for them. And there's a lot of reasons why. But that's why they're going to push back and they're going to pull all the this is racist, this is this, this is this, this is that. They're going to run every slander campaign they possibly can. And heck, I wouldn't be surprised if this video got um ad limited on it. I wouldn't be surprised. Might happen just because of the topic. Not that we won't be saying anything that's untrue or going on the attack, just that we're talking about the topic itself. And that being this I don't know, I hesitate to call it a trade war. I don't believe that's a good name for it. It's just early negotiations on tariffs with China. Let's put it that way. I think that's probably the way it is. And I think we got the right man for the job in front of it as we speak. That's why it's been like really difficult to kind of come up with some fun, inspiring political content this week because, whoa, if that red flag is red, because it's just kind of, I'm a little bit bored with it, and I'm also like, well, it changes day to day, right? It's more like we get the gist of it. We got the gist of it on Liberation Day, right? We did that show, and now it's just letting it all play out because the end game is to make things just fair again. And that's going to favor us because we're getting run over. Hey, just Don, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well and having a great day. And so it's like we know that okay, well today they're going to do this, tomorrow they're going to do that, and that's the way it's kind of gone. Like we've raised it, they've raised it, we raised it again, right? So this gaming that's going on with the early negotiations, it's just you got to let it play out, right? So I tend to like be like, okay, well I can kind of see where this is going, so let them do this a few times till it plays out, and then we'll figure out what's going on in the end and how this is going to be remedied, so that we are no longer getting screwed over by them. and how they are going to deal with it. That's pretty much what we're waiting on here. And so here we go with our first piece of the evening. And this, I think, that does a great job kind of running through the background and what China's master plan is and how Trump's tariffs is going to ruin that master plan and how it's going to kick things back in the right direction as far as the global economy goes. There's a lot of we get into with this. If you just want to stay at the high level, remember the mainstream media will always lie to you about everything, and so will our cronies. So if they hate it, it's probably a good thing.
Defend global trade, but they're the ones who destroyed it in the first place, and I'll tell you exactly how they did it. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. YouTube has been trying to suppress China Uncensored and promote pro-CCP.
Oh yeah, so that probably means they're going to suppress me.
We're fighting
by the
back
way,
and winning.
but you
Join
guys
me
should
in
know.
Operation
See?
Honeypot
It's fighting back with
Phase
winning.
3. Leave a honeypot comment to show YouTube we've got engagement, and subscribe to our free newsletter to subvert YouTube censorship. The link is below. So, the Chinese
2.4
Communist Party
million,
is freaking out about US
2.04
tariffs.
million subscribers.
They've
I think you're
launched
doing all
a
right, pal.
full-on propaganda blitz, calling the tariffs abuse and blackmail.
Oh,
If anyone is an expert on abuse and blackmail, it's the CCP.
right?
The CCP is also claiming to be the defender of global trade. Yes, China is going to safeguard multilateralism and the multilateral trading system. And they totally are. I'm not being sarcastic here. They really are. The CCP is going to fight for the current global trading system. It's not because they love international cooperation, which is just propaganda BS.
Hey,
It's
Vice
because
baby,
the
how you
CCP
doing?
has
Good to
spent
see you.
decades manipulating global trade to their advantage. So there's no way they're going to let all that lying and cheating go to waste. Plus, global trade is basically the only thing keeping China's economy afloat. The CCP wants the world to believe that it's U.S. tariffs that are throwing a whatever this is into the gears of the world economy.
Does that make any sense? I mean, first of all, we didn't have any. Didn't seem like we did. And then suddenly, because we want fairness, it's going to totally mess everything up. Well, I guess in their eyes, it is.
But the truth is, it's the CCP that
Yep.
spent
They're the ones that have been gaming it the whole time.
decades destroying the world economy. And in today's episode, I'll show you how they did it and why. China is an export economy. That means their economy relies on manufacturing stuff for the rest of the world to buy. Chinese manufacturing exploded after China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001. Because China was able to make
Never trust
stuff
the commie.
more cheaply than other countries, consumers around the world benefited from lower prices on Chinese imports. But countries also lost tons of manufacturing jobs to China. The US alone lost more than 2 million jobs between 1999 and 2011 as a result of Chinese imports. Now, besides manufacturing, the other big driver of China's recent economic growth was real estate investment, which became a problem after China's real estate market started to collapse in 2020.
Right.
So the CCP decided to double down on manufacturing. They pumped billions of dollars into building more factories and exporting more goods to keep China's economy from
That place.
crashing, which
Holy
did
cow.
work. But now China is making way more stuff than the rest of the world can buy. That's called
Overdoing
overcapacity.
it.
How bad is it? Here's a chart from the US Treasury Department showing supply and demand. If trade was healthy, the red and blue lines would be roughly the same. But the fact that the red lines are way above the blue shows that China is making way more batteries, solar panels, and electric vehicles than the rest of the world wants. And because China has so much overcapacity, it also doesn't import much from other countries, which means China now has a trade surplus of almost $1 trillion.
Wow.
That's more than any country's trade surplus in the past century, even adjusted
Wow.
for inflation. And China doesn't show signs of stopping. Its export volume is growing 3 times as fast as global trade. That's insane. So what happens when China exports more and more stuff? They have to cut prices to be able to sell it all, which means other countries lose even more jobs to China. Entire industries shut down. There are now
Grims
certain
Bar, how
products
you
you can
doing?
only
Good to see you,
buy from
buddy.
China. And when those are critical things like medical supplies, that gives China massive political and economic leverage on other countries. Remember when China stopped exporting medical goods during the early days of COVID? Yeah, that, but on an even bigger scale. That's why the Chinese Communist Party is fighting to maintain the global trading system. They dominate it, and without it, China's economy would fail, and their political control would crumble. But how did China get here? It's not just about cheap labor. The CCP has built an entire economic system to dominate global trade. Back when China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, they promised to follow rules to ensure fair trade practices. To be fair to the CCP, something I never thought I'd say, they did make a bunch of economic reforms in order to get into the WTO. But after they joined, they violated the WTO rules repeatedly. They've been cheating the system for decades and largely getting away with it. You see, the WTO rules are set up to prevent government intervention that would artificially distort global trade. But in a communist system, it's government intervention all the way down. Last month, the Rhodium Group published a report called Far From Normal that looks at how China's state support distorts global trade. For a look at the CCP system, let's use a specific product as an example to make it easier to follow. Take honey production. Why? No particular reason. Here's how the CCP makes a product like honey more cheaply than other countries. First, they use direct government subsidies. They give money to industries they want to support. 99% of major Chinese companies listed on the stock exchange get government grants. 99%. In our example,
99.
farmers that harvest honey or factories that process honey. The CCP also gives industries tax concessions, so honey producers might not pay any taxes. The CCP also uses below-market finance. That means they would let honey producers borrow money at lower interest rates from state-owned banks, or state-owned banks would invest money in these companies without expecting much of a return on their investment. And they also sell goods at below market prices to these industries. For example, selling cheap land to honey farmers or providing cheap electricity for honey processors. This industrial policy is incredibly effective for the CCP. It's how the CCP jump-started its entire electric vehicle industry. And they're now flooding the rest of the world with cheap EVs. Yes, these are all things that other countries do too, but no one does them on the same scale as the CCP. In 2019, the CCP spent almost $250 billion on its industrial policy. That's massive. But it's not just industrial policy. There are also ways China's entire financial system distorts global trade. Like everything in China, the financial system is political. All banks in China are either state-owned or state-linked. So the CCP controls how they give out loans, which means state-owned banks give lots of loans to state-owned enterprises and to other companies the CCP wants to support. And if those companies can't pay them back, the banks just keep extending the loans because it's better to take the financial risk than to risk getting on the CCP's bad side. So the CCP's huge and politicized financial system has resulted in an explosion of credit and of debt, and lots of companies are exporting Chinese goods even if they aren't actually profitable. What could go wrong? There's lots of other stuff I could talk about here too, like how the CCP restricts China's market access and discriminates against foreign firms, but I think you get the picture. The CCP's industrial policy and financial system is destroying the global trading system. More countries have stopped relying on the World Trade Organization to stop the CCP's unfair practices. Instead, they're putting their own tariffs on Chinese goods, like Europe's tariffs on China's EVs, or President Trump's tariffs on China's everything. But in the past, the CCP has been able to get around a lot of tariffs.
I think I've asked this before. Can anybody name a Chinese car manufacturer? in the U.S., we don't have Chinese cars here, do we? I never see a car and think, oh, that's a Chinese car. Like, there's Korean, there's definitely Japanese. But that's the Asian market, as far as I know, for automobiles. Toyota being one of the best ones out there. But can you guys name a Chinese car manufacturer in America? Temu? I think that's a delivery service, isn't it? Actually, Temu is going to be brought up in another piece later. That's their cheap shipping junk. While no cars built in China and by Chinese automakers are currently available for sale in the U.S. under their own brand, many Chinese-made vehicles are sold in the U.S. market under other brands, such as the Lincoln Nautilus, Buick Envision, and some Volvo and Polestar models. Lincolns and Buicks, huh? Those are like Lincoln is a Ford, right? Buick's a Buick. Buick's is the Buick, man. Yeah. All right. Well, somebody knew some of them.
What I talked about before was the cheating part. Now this is the lying part. It's called transshipment, where China transfers goods to a second country where the Made in China label is switched for another. This happens with a ton of Chinese products, including Chinese honey. The U.S. has had anti-dumping tariffs on Chinese honey since 2001. So Chinese exporters have tried to get around it with what's called honey laundering.
Honey laundering.
I'm not kidding. Chinese honey is shipped to countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, India, Dubai, even the Bahamas, and then sent to the U.S. to avoid tariffs. In some cases, the Chinese honey contains antibiotics that are illegal in the U.S. In other cases, it's been diluted with rice syrup or ultra-filtered to disguise that it's from China. And guess what?
That's interesting. I never thought of like, I mean, I could think maybe they had GMO bees or whatever. I never thought of them having antibiotics or anything in it. That's wild. Because you can't, if it's coming from there, it's hard to figure it out if they're sending it through some other place. So that's why they have these tariffs on these weird places. People are like, there's just penguins on the island. Yeah, because people are going there to ship things in to avoid the tariffs. I mean, and avoid other things too, obviously.
What? Most imported honey is used in processed foods. So you don't know if your Honey Nut Cheerios are really Honey Nut China-Os. The point is, China has been able to evade tariffs for years,
honey,
which is why the Trump administration's new tariffs are aimed at those backdoor transshipment countries too.
Nice.
Yeah, everyone thought tariffing those remote islands full of penguins was dumb until now.
The penguins were in on it. The penguins were in on the honey laundering.
The CCP's industrial policy, their financial system, and their export system are all designed to manipulate global trade. They've kept China's economy going while hurting other countries. Both advanced economies and developing economies are dealing with the fallout. But it's gotten so bad that the rest of the world has no choice but to fight back. Not just the US, but also Europe. And as a result, we may be watching the collapse of global free trade.
They certainly don't care about our lives.
It's the CCP's fault. So what happens to China if this happens? Well, that's a whole nother episode. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see an episode on.
I mean, that'd probably be a good idea to put that episode out. Seems like you really want to do it. Go for it, dude. Go for it. All right. So there's a brief introduction to that. But we're really just turning things around, right? At the end of the day, we want people to make things here, so we have jobs, right? And we have manufacturing culture back, like for real, especially going into the future here. It'd be better if we were making all this stuff that goes into the newest and latest technology in our own country. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be doing that. The only reason why we haven't been doing it for so long is because people wanted to make money on cheap labor at the cost of their own country. That is mental illness, but it's unfortunately was a sign of the times. It was very much smiled upon and promoted and incentivized to do that. So people did what they needed to do at those times, but unfortunately to the detriment of future generations. But we're trying to turn that back around now. And the only way to do that, I think, it seems like, has been to kind of show them what it's like to be treated that way. You know, what's fair is fair, right? Grimsbar can easily foresee a UN, but for economic warfare, and easily the UN goes. Aren't they already doing that in a way? You know, crashing borders with people from other countries to overwrite things. Like, it causes much economic warfare in my mind. Let me see here. It seems like they've been doing it sneaky style, slow burning collapse. China's been doing a lot of things for a while, just a matter of it being discovered by foreign countries. Yeah. Well, yeah, they always do that, right? They're always making deals. They don't care. It's the ends justify the means, and they got generations to get what they want. That is the peril of tangoing with these authoritarian regimes. They go on and on and on and on. And meanwhile, we're fighting every 4 years over who's the president is here, which is a good thing. However, when one side is completely corrupted and aligned with authoritarian communist regimes around the world, and seemingly pass and allow legislation and practices that have enabled and are growing that threat, they don't have any kind of strategy to deal with it. They seem to be willingly accepting their fate. So they're just going ahead and cashed out at our expenses and be like, oh no, it's not, you are the ones that are going to do it. Like, why would they do that? Right? Unless they figure they're going to get out clean, which they probably maybe in that alignment would for a moment. I don't know. To me, once the tyranny sets in and the authoritarians take over, then all the useful idiots that enabled it get taken out and all their shit gets taken away. So why be a useful idiot on any level? Because you never end up winning that way. Right? Let's see. What do you mean stock options are communism? Are they? RB, what's up? Good to see you. Hope you've been good too. They may be. Well, I'm gonna change my channel. I'm gonna start I'm gonna borrow the everybody else's model, and I'm just like, I don't know anything, so I just sit here and I just ask questions, and you come here with questions, and you leave with more questions than you came in with. That's the new model now. So I don't know. What do you think? That's my new model. I don't know. Wow, I don't know. I'm just sitting here wasting your time. See, workers own the means of productions, technically speaking. Gotcha. See, I don't know, mate. Do they? It's gonna ask questions to everything. I don't know. I'm just asking questions. Man, it's been a stressful couple of weeks. Grandpa was put in hospice, and it's Passover this weekend, so I've been all over the place. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about your grandfather, but wishing the best. And I hope that your stressful couple of weeks become peaceful and fun shortly, in short time, RB, in short time. Libby, how you doing? We're just asking questions. No answers here. What's up, Libby? How you doing? I'm just gonna be like, I don't know. I just saw this and now I'm putting it out. What is it? I have no idea. Like I'm the only person with an editor and a YouTube channel. I could put the video out. I'm just putting it out there. It's like, I swear there's some channels that's all they do. Literally have a clickbait title. You come in and then it's like, I'm just asking questions the whole time. Well, then this isn't really a place to get information about the topic you posted about, right? No, no, not at all. I'll just ask more questions. Yeah, I can ask questions for hours, and we'll never figure out anything. That's right. Oh man. But instead of asking questions, let's go find answers. Well, I don't know. I'm just asking questions. It's a question.
OK，大家看一下啊。
Hey, would you like answers? Wouldn't that be nice? I'm just asking questions. All right, I'm gonna speed this one up a little bit. Trump's tariffs crush. China holds production. Goods pile up. Faces largest unemployment ever. I almost want to play this other one first. I feel like this establishes stuff a little bit better. We're not gonna pay. We're not. Don't get excited. We're not gonna play all this. I know that there was a 11-minute version out there of this freaking video, and I'm really mad that I didn't save it. Let's see. Is this it? Nope. Back. This it? I might have imagined the 11-minute versions. Maybe I just wanted an 11-minute version of it. But here's this lady, right? We're gonna talk about the vanishing real quick. We're gonna get back to the tariffs, but I felt like this is like good context, right? Like the reason why you want to know this is because now you're gonna listen to what everybody has to say with this in mind. So that's why I'm going to throw this in the middle of it, messing everything up. But I think you'll find it interesting that China is probably and has probably been lying about their population for a while for the purposes of face, some kind of grand achievement by being the most populous country on the earth. This in their mind makes them cool. And okay, if you want to be cool. But now, since you've been lying, seems like you've been lying and you don't treat people right over there. Now you have the shame of being second to India. All right. There.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Lazy Real Talk. How's everyone? Ready for the weekend?
Let's
Yes?
speed her up.
Good. Excellent. Well, I've discussed China's population in several programs, and Consistent said that it's absolutely not the official 1.4 billion, and it's no more than 100 million. In my October
She believes that it's no more than 100 million.
October 8th, 2024 program, which is a live stream, I said China's population is around 800 million. Given the 800 million number was still over, even the 800 million number is still overstated. But to be honest with you, at the time, I avoided getting to the bottom of the question because the truth is too brutal and difficult to accept. I saw someone commenting on that. They believe that China's population is not 1.4 billion, but the 300 million is a stretch. That was the view that I held on for a long time because it was hard to accept. And also, I don't want to come across as sensational by making unsubstantiated claims. So I skirted around the issue by saying China's population was no more than 900 million. That said, a number of viewers have written to me, sharing their thoughts and information on the matter. I decided to finally confront the question head on. China's real population is not anywhere near 800 million either. It's somewhere between 300 and 400 million. Yes, you heard that right. China's actual population may be only a fraction of the official 1.4 billion. But
wow. Can you imagine? Like, it's one of those things that I think everybody is just taking at face value. Like the populations of China, but they tell us. Well, they also told us that the coup didn't come from a lab.
Before diving into the numbers, let's first understand how the Chinese Communist regime has concealed the truth about its demographic data. Let me move this closer to me. First of all, the CCP has long craved the title of the world's most populous country and strategically used it to promote the country's alleged massive consumer market to attract foreign investment. It has been remarkably successful in manipulating data, deceiving the world into believing its inflated population. In reality, due to decades of the brutal one-child policy, China's population never actually reached 1.4 billion. Secondly, the CCP covered up the true death toll of COVID-19. The reality is that China lost hundreds of millions of people over the past 5 years due to the pandemic. Today, even a casual observer can see that Chinese cities and villages are noticeably empty. I've covered that in several programs
that's
before.
one of the things too. Is like, if you ever looked around, you've seen those, right? Those there's empty cities, like just ghost cities in China. They're over the top. Now, I've had the I've heard different explanations about that, right? Some people believe that this is communism, right? They have to keep justifying what they're doing, in terms of they had to keep building things even if they don't need it. It's just like this weird thing over there, right? So they build these cities in anticipation of the future, perhaps. I don't know, but they just sit there and rot. So it's really strange to see the ghost cities, right? They do that all the time over there. One day, China is going to collapse, right? And people are going to be allowed to go in there and see what the fuck they've been doing. And I mean, they have graveyards of electric cars. A lot of them that never even were produced and never even bought, and just like rotting out in a field. We've shown that before. So they got that. They got, they make so much stuff they just throw it away. But they got all this building thing in these giant cities that are never finished. We'll see some of them here in a second. But yeah, hundreds of millions. See, now this, you got to ask yourself, what makes you believe that can't be true? And what makes you believe those hundreds of millions were actually there in the first place? Right? I mean, to me, it's on the table. I have no proof that there's 1.4 billion people in China. They can show me all the optics they want to, a crowded city, crowded streets or whatever. We could show them New York City and tell them during rush hour and tell them all of America is like that. Oh, look, we got 10 million now. And it looks like this everywhere, right? But there's a lot of poverty, and then of course we know there's communism. And we know where there's communism, not only is there lies and deceit, but there's also a lot of death. And to imagine they're booming in population with a one-child policy, again, is it goes against logic, doesn't it? It's like, well, how are they replacing people and growing? They don't believe in bringing people in. They don't like foreigners. They're a very racist country. I mean, they're openly like, oh no, it's good. We're good with racist. Like they're okay with that, right, for the most part. And this is what people from there will tell you, as well as people who have lived there for a very long time that aren't from there, right? They're very, very happy to let you know that. They don't have any shame in that, right? But what makes us think that they ever had hundreds of millions more than they do? What makes sense, right? They had a mass genocide happen like this, within a lifetime. I'm just asking questions. Because that's what people want. They want more questions, and that's what I'm going to give them. Lots of questions. But really, what any of us think that any numbers that they ever gave us about anything could possibly be true, and knowing their propensity for wanting to be the best and the largest and the best at everything, right? Down to the fact that they had to have the Olympics and all this other stuff. We wouldn't be the first city to ever have it twice. Oh, that's a big deal. We're the first. Like, it's a first prize medal, right? They love the trophy case. It's the first thing you see when you walk into China, is they put other trophies right at the borders. So you have to see them when you walk in. But yeah, I mean, the other 800 million are slaves, 300 million are CCP. They are the only Chinese. But they'll count them all and say we rounded up to about 1.4 billion. Let's see. That's true, Snipe. That's true. Well, yeah, there's their numbers, right? Let's see. Cases, deaths, recovered. I mean, okay, but that's again China's numbers, right? Exit out. Yeah, that's what you think the same way I do. I call them that. You never trust a commie. Never trust a commie. Never trust a commie. I've seen a few of her videos by her theories. Okay. Let's listen to some more.
In some cases, the entire village is empty.
Yeah.
So based on the above 2 points, I believe we need a two-step approach to estimate China's real population.
1,
First,
kill our commies. 2, take over country, count ourselves. Yes.
we must rectify China's real population before the pandemic. And then we must determine the real fatality casualties. Maybe that's an easier word for me to say. Fatality,
Oh,
fertility.
is she adorable?
Okay, so we must determine China's real death toll during COVID. And if we can arrive at credible figures for these two questions, one, real population before COVID, and two, real COVID deaths. If we could, arrive at credible numbers, right, for those two, our methodology will be on solid ground. So
Yes.
first things first, what is China's population before the pandemic?
We all know she's good at math.
In 2018, the Russians estimated that China's actual population may be between 500 million and 800 million. A Russian expert noted that China's population in 1945, during the nationalist rule, was 490 million. After the Communist Party implemented the Great Leap Forward, which resulted in the Great Famine and subsequent...
The Great Leap Forward to the Great Famine. We look out for things that say great. I don't know. Well, we want to make America great again. The great leap, the great reset, the great famine. Maybe things that actually start with the great. We have to be worried about. That's all.
Cultural Revolution, causing countless deaths and injuries, followed by decades of the one-child policy. It's impossible that China's population surged to 1.4 billion.
Right. I mean, exactly. I mean, unless they're just for cloning people and not saying anything.
Other Russian experts added up the publicly available urban population of every Chinese city and county and got only 280 million people. And based on the traditional urban-rural population ratio of 1-to-1, they estimated China's actual population being around 560 million. Even considering China's unique circumstances, they say that the population should not exceed 800 million. I have covered this before. I think it was in a December program. I'm going to ask.
Oh, they bring great shame upon their country, great shame upon their race, lying about their population. Great shame.
The links.
I'm just asking
in the description
questions
on all the programs I made about Chinese population. All right, let me continue. And then Japanese scholars have done research based on China's table salt consumption, arable land, and international grain purchases, and concluded that China's real population was between 800 and 900 million. In my December 14th, 2024 program, which was cut based on my October 8th live stream, I showed you China's real population before the pandemic was between 695 million to 890 million. My logic was straightforward. It is that, 35 years ago, China and India's population was only 270 million people apart. In 1990, India had 870 million people, while China had a population of 1.1 billion. In the next 30 years, China's fertility rate averaged 3, did I say China? India, right? India's fertility rate averaged 3. That means every woman on average gave birth during that 30 years to 3 children.
Wow.
While China's official...
Now, see, that's how you get 1 billion people right there. You keep that consistent. Every woman capable, I guess, gave birth to 3 children. None of this 1.5 bullshit. None of these half kid stuff. 3 solid children. 3 whole numbers. That'll do it.
Fertility rate was only half of India's at 1.
The Great American Lay. That's why we need to have the Great American Lay. In the future, the best will be known. It'll be known by how many children within a family you could have. That will be a thing. Not with our children; they don't count. But that way, no one starts gaming the system. But how many children within a family you could have will be the ideal alpha female equality.
1.7. Therefore, mathematically, it's impossible that India, a much younger country with double the fertility, still has a smaller population than China does in a span of 30 years. So using AI and official CCP fertility rate, I came up with 890 million Chinese population for the year 2020. However, if I use Dr. Yi Fuxian, a renowned expert on Chinese demographics, if I used his fertility
just
rate,
asking questions,
China's population in 2020 before the pandemic was only 695 million. And you can watch my program from December 14th for more details. The link is below. So you see my calculation. The studies conducted by the Russians and the Japanese overwhelmingly point China's population before the pandemic at somewhere between 600 million and 800 million or 900 million, but it's around 800 million. And there's another expert who agrees with our number. Let me share screens with you. Yeah, so let me talk about this.
Look at that.
A Chinese YouTuber by the name of Li Muyang, who has 1 million subscribers, disclosed in his March 1st and March 8th programs information he received from one of his fans. This fan has been working for the WHO for decades and does data collection and analytic work. He has been studying China's population for a while. And he said, he told Mr. Li, the YouTuber, that Chinese demographic data quoted by the World Health Organization, the World Banks, and the UN are all off or wrong because the source is official CCP data. And in 2020, 2021, this fan of Mr. Li tried to repeat the Russian study by adding up all official population data at local levels, meaning county level, urban levels. But he wasn't able to do so because many of the local governments had stopped releasing demographic data, and some even fabricated the information. So he wasn't able to finish his study, but he concluded that China's population before the pandemic was 750 million. And he mentioned one article posted on September 20.
Even if it's 750 million, it's a long ways from 1.4 billion. They just like the sound of that billion. Oh, we got a billion people here. Look out. We'll come get you. We'll come get you. Just asking questions. All right. But they are so small. They only count as half each. Is that then they got even more? They really got 2.8. They just count everybody as half.
29th, 2019. On a portal run by overseas Chinese called Pingcong. The post estimated China's population in 2012 was only 700 million. I gave you the link to that post in the reference section. But let me tell you what this post said, okay? So here's the calculation done.
So yeah, well, a couple more minutes of this, we're going to move on.
In 2012, China announced a population of 1.36 billion. On January 22nd of 2013,
1.4.
China's Ministry of Public Security revoked 350 million household registrations after a nationwide 48-hour intensive audit carried out by 567 and 100 officers. China's household registration cards is like our ID, is like our social security card, but it's managed by the police, by the public security ministry.
Does that sound good, Grim?
48-hour audit found that over 350 million duplicate IDs existed. Many were fake IDs people obtained,
Donna Marie B, what's up?
For illicit real estate purposes, because there were so many rules in China that restrict people's real estate activities. So people were trying to get fake IDs to buy real estate. And the above information was published on the Ministry of Public Security's website. It has since been deleted, but still exists on other websites through reposts. So after dropping 350 million fake people from the database, China's population in 2012 was reduced to 1 billion. But according to the author of the post, this 1 billion was still inflated. One key metric is the number of primary and secondary school students. Due to the funding allocation being tied to the number of students in each locality,
right on.
Local authorities have a financial incentive to over-report student numbers, especially in impoverished and underdeveloped regions. Therefore, the data on students is highly inflated. So how bad is it? The post given an example. So out of the reported 216 million primary and secondary school students reported in 2010, about half to 2/3 were fake. So the author compared the official primary and secondary school students number data.
In America, we do that for so people can get votes, like get illegal votes and game the system. Over there, they're just like, we want to have the largest population, so we're going to do it this way because we always know who's going to win the election, right?
60 million to the nationwide school vaccination statistics, and there were fewer than 100 million children aged between 8 months to 14 years. And now, if you look at this age group, not everyone was a student, right? Because it's from 8.
Imagine the stories they have over there. Well, I would have had, five, brothers and sisters, but I was the firstborn. There's a whole generation full of people who would have probably had brothers and sisters, but China took those away because only one child you must have for the earth. It's good for communism and stuff.
8 months to 14
I
years.
sit around telling stories like we're just pissed.
So how many
Yeah.
of them are primary and secondary school students? It's no more than 100 million, probably only a fraction of that. So the author estimated that 166 million fake students existed in China around that time, around 2012.
Never
Let's
trust the
subtract
commie.
the 166 million fake students from the 1 billion. From the 1 billion, we have 834 million people left. But the author claimed that even the 834 million is still inflated because of a number of issues. One, there was a large number of so-called ghost IDs, people who have died, but whose
I was
household
about to say next is going to be people
that
that are dead, but they're still counting them. And they're doing all this. They do all this just to have the largest population number because of ego. See, China's downfall will be their arrogance, and I'm pretty sure our commander in chief gets that about them. He understands what they really want. They'll make us tell the world you're not the largest population out there. Like, oh no, please don't tell anybody. We must be the best. Please. No. Suddenly I got Indian on that. But anyways, yeah, double find most dishonorable to be lying to the world about your population, China. Why can't you just be proud of your population as it is? Why do you gotta have the biggest population? Nobody thinks that's a good thing. Send those. Yeah, we need to send those to China. That'll do it. That will do it.
And social benefits are still being collected by their children. And number two, people who have immigrated to other countries,
let it rot, young Chinese.
Many of them have never canceled their household registration. And this is a common practice among people who move to other parts of the world. And the last is an important issue. That is, the National Bureau of Statistics is known for falsifying new birth data annually at about 20%.
What?
So the author believes
communists never lie.
Above three factors can
lie.
easily contribute another 100 million to 150 million false household registration IDs. That brings China's population in 2012, in his opinion, to be around 700 million, maybe between 700 and 750 million. Now, China's official population was 1.3 billion.
They have like Chinese herbs,
and for the 8 years
between
2012 to 2020, China's official population grew only 4.21%. From 1.3, it was actually 1.36 billion to 1.4 something billion. It was basically flat, right? Over the 8 years, it grew only 4.2%.
All right. I think she's really interesting, but for time's sake, I can't let it keep going. This is an hour-long talk. However, you can enjoy the rest of that hour-long talk in your leisure hours by following that link right there. There you go. We must be moving on to the next one. But hey, just I wanted to blow that myth out of the water real quick. Because look, let's be honest. How many people here before you came in and saw that and actually questioned the population numbers coming out of China? I mean, it's one of those things that just doesn't naturally occur, right? You got to put some thought into thinking about that. But now you do, right? Now you're kind of like, you see that 1.4 billion or whatever's coming out of the commie mouth, and you're like, yeah, sure, prove it, right? Then you get your American on. Then you get your American attitude on. You're like, yeah, prove it. I don't believe shit's coming out of your mouth, commie. But honestly, tell me in the chat, before you walked in today, did you know that you'd be walking out questioning the population of China? Just let me know. All right, so show me the people. I mean, when you stop to think about it, does it make any sense? Doesn't make any sense. So few large or rich countries have birthing rates over replacement. Most are having birth rates like 1 to 1.5 ish. Western countries, yeah, bad. Hey, Patrick Stacy, what's up, man? I've been thinking about you. How you doing? Good to see you. Welcome to the show, my friend. Welcome to the show. And thank you for supporting the channel. I much appreciate it. Very much so. Very much, very much. Everybody say hello to Patrick Stacy. Let's see. This one. Okay, there it is. I got it. Okay. So on and on and on about this tariff thing, this China thing and whatnot. We're gonna watch some more about impact. And these are all within the last day or several hours, right? So I tried to get as much of that as I could, because this like I said, the news about the tariffs, it's like, okay, we did it. Now we see this day, this the next day, this the next day. And we start to see it unfold. I think that it's one of those things you can follow it every day, but if you latch on to any single day, you'll be behind, right? So I let it pile up for a few days just to kind of see how it would shake out after about 3 or 4 days of it, 5 days of it. And you start to see the pattern. It goes out there. We see the reaction from the establishment to create fear and panic, right? And then poses the saviors, of course. But in haste, we got to see all the misused language they were using, all their strategy on the floor, flat out called that out. But also knowing that their misuse of language, like replacing economy for market, market for economy. But saying, he's collapsing economies all over the world. No, you could say there's a market collapsing, correcting really is what we know it to be, correcting itself. That's not an economy collapsing, but they came out with that narrative because it produces more fear. When you think of not the whole economy, versus a market where, in our country at least, most of the stocks are owned by the top 10%, the wealthiest people. There's smaller investors, index investors, people investing from the middle class somewhat, and some long-term investing, right? Which means the market goes up and down anyways. Collapse makes it sound like it's over with. Like, oh my God, the house collapsed. That house is never going back up. I have to build a new one because it's collapsed, right? But really it's a correction. We've been very clear about that. So we get to see that reaction, right? And now we get to see the reaction of what countries, once they have the tariffs put on them, what they're going to do. As predicted, it doesn't really make sense that we get charged so much and other people don't. So in a lot of cases, I figured that they would either zero them out or, come to some kind of arrangement where the tariff made sense, right? We're getting something back for that tariff. And that's been the pattern, right? So now it went from 50 to 75 countries that are now online to talk to Trump to make a deal, right? Covered that earlier in the late last week, and now we're seeing the thing with China. So China is the one that pushed back. China is the one that tariff. Well, I'm going to raise them again. So can they win a battle like that with us? We're going to find out right now. Scrims Bar says, wouldn't markets collapse if everyone had a Star Trek replicator? I don't know. I'm just asking. You're just asking questions, and that brings about more questions that I'll just ask as well. But yeah, let's get into this. You got to pay someone rent for that replicator. You can't earn it though. You can have one, but you can't actually own it. You got to pay rent on it. Nah, I don't know. Oh man, I got this thing on McDonald's. Ooh, like what the meat's really made out of and stuff from ex McDonald's employees. Yeah, you don't want to see that if you like the McRib sandwich.
Okay, 大家看一下啊。Let me show you. These products for export. Due to the tariffs from yesterday, all the orders shipped overseas are stuck. So many goods are now piled up in the warehouse. If we go under because of the trade war, remember the name of our company. On April 9th, a factory manager from Taizhou, Zhejiang, shared it.
If we go under because of trade war, just remember our name. Or gadgets and stuff. Gadgets in a bag. Just remember gadgets in a bag. Please. Yell her name as it goes down in flames.
The video showing products unable to be shipped due to the tariffs.
What in the hell is that stuff? It's like pieces of things.
With goods piling up in the warehouse. On the same day, an employee from a factory in Jiangsu also posted images of an empty workshop.
I mean, in one day, really? They're like, no, stop. Stop.
They say I'm spreading rumors. Let me show you. The factory is on break, waiting for further notice. I need to find temporary workers. This is the reality.
Following the Chinese government's retaliatory tariff hike on April 9th, President Donald Trump announced that tariffs on Chinese goods will be raised to 125%, effective immediately. He also stated that countries which have not imposed retaliatory tariffs on the US would have their tariffs suspended for 90 days, also taking effect immediately. Trump further criticized the Chinese government for showing a lack of respect towards the global market.
I mean, yeah, he got people to pay attention. He's like, yeah, oh, yeah, you want to talk now? Okay, we can talk. We can talk.
The White House later clarified that the 90-day suspension meant US tariffs on countries other than China will be reduced to a baseline rate of 10%. This move is part of Trump's latest strategy aimed specifically at countering the Chinese government. Despite widespread complaints from both domestic and international trade sectors, the Chinese government has insisted on its retaliatory stance. At the same time, it has aggressively censored reports about the real conditions in the foreign trade industry and has continued to fuel anti-American sentiment at home. Although many related videos have been swiftly removed, some Chinese social media users have continued to post images and footage showing the hardships faced by factories amid the trade war. On April 9th, one content creator posted a video showing a mountain of goods stuck in storage. He said that as the China-US trade war intensified and a 125% tariff was imposed on exports to the US, 2,000 gas stoves remained unshipped. He asked, what are we supposed to do?
Wow.
This is the situation now. Factories are shut down, production has stopped, and hundreds of people have been dismissed on the spot.
Another TikToker wrote that the tariff situation felt like adding insult to injury, with many industries facing severe challenges. He said, suddenly, machines have been turned off. The sky has collapsed. Yesterday, everything was fine, and today the boss said we're stopping. We've only been back at work for 2 months after the holidays, and now we're all going home. I heard that most factories will close after May Day. Another post mentioned that after 3 more days
after May Day. Oh, not after the communist holiday. Oh, how ironic.
The work, a factory has suddenly been shut down. All employees involved.
Here's what I gotta say about the Chinese stuff. Hashtag buy new things, right? Buy different stuff. Maybe it's hashtag buy different stuff. Buy different stuff. You know? I guess we'll quickly find out what we were all buying from China. Buy different stuff. Start an American company. There you go. And if you need someone to come to work for you, give me a call.
Then foreign trade is forced to take leave. Another video showed a factory shut down and workers being sent home with an uncertain future ahead. On April 9th, a worker in the manufacturing industry shared what they observed on the factory floor. After the trade war started,
they got like stripper poles in those places. He's like, now I spin around for you.
Let me tell you about the manufacturing situation on our side. A factory making imported audio equipment for OEM stopped its orders. A factory producing hardware stamping announced layoffs. Another factory that exports plastic products started canceling orders with plastic trading companies, and the materials they ordered are now useless. The worker noted that some industries has seen a sudden improvement, with certain imported materials benefiting unexpectedly. For example, the price of disassembled BCDG materials had increased. The worker explained that since some imported materials still had no domestic substitutes, the prices naturally rose. Those holding inventory are now holding back supply. Foreign trade orders are now beginning to pass through product manufacturers, and the effects will soon reach material suppliers and chemical factories, setting off a chain reaction across the industry.
What is that?
The biggest losers from the tariffs are probably the factories in Dongguan. After all, Dongguan is known as the world's factory. There are 14,000 local enterprises, and 60% of them rely on foreign trade and exports. We don't export ourselves, but just think about it. If these companies can't ship their goods out, their upstream and downstream orders are bound to collapse. There's a Taiwanese-funded factory near us that originally gave us...
I mean, I guess they could build it in America.
Just 1 day off for the Qingming festival, but now they're extending it
right,
to
looks
5.
like calendar, doesn't
The real
it?
issue is this. To survive, these companies have to shift to domestic sales.
I don't know. But
that means they're now competing with small factories like ours that already focus on domestic markets. So now everyone's caught up in this intense struggle. It really feels like we're being dragged under. While the worker did not oppose China's countermeasures, they criticized those who constantly advocate online for whatever it takes or fighting back, saying such people may not realize they are the ones bearing the cost. Social media users expressed concern with comments like, "I don't know how many people will lose their jobs. It's really worrying." No problem. The unemployment rate won't be reported, so it'll stay at 0. In Dongguan, it's getting harder for ride-hailing and food delivery drivers. In 6 months, many business owners may join them. China expert Yue Shan said the trade war's impact on China could lead to a broader societal crisis. Unemployment had already been rising in recent years. This year, a record 12.2 million universities.
Here's an idea, China. I got an idea. This might work. How about trying it without communism? How about that? How about that? Why don't you try all this without communism, and maybe you'll be just fine. You know, just a thought. I'm just asking questions here.
University graduates are entering the job market, alongside many farmers who have lost their land and now need jobs. The trade war could push even employed factory workers into unemployment. In addition, many factory owners, previously part of the middle class, may fall into poverty due to bankruptcy, potentially triggering an unprecedented wave of joblessness in China. On April 10th,
Doesn't well, I guess business bankruptcy kind of save you from falling into poverty personally? And that kind of what it's there for. Maybe it works different in communist countries. We need to hear from the Chinese lighting and sign guy. Yeah, probably. There's entire communities whose lives depend on making cat toilets. Where do we go wrong? Right. And what are the cats going to do when we run out of disposable cat toilets? I don't know.
10th, a Zhejiang factory owner who runs a lingerie business voiced frustration late at night, saying the U.S. tariff hikes are affecting not just export factories, but domestic businesses as well.
呀，睡不着两句啊。这次这个增加这个关税，
I couldn't sleep, so I thought I'd chat a bit. This round of tariff increases is seriously affecting everyone in manufacturing. Some people say, what does that have to do with domestic sales? But actually, it's hitting us hard too. For instance, it's really difficult to source fabric right now. Large spinning mills would rather shut down. They have massive daily operating costs. In the past, 50 to 60% of their orders came from foreign trade. Now that those have disappeared, the costs are just too high to keep running.
So the only reason you guys were able to do all this bullshit is because you're ripping us off? Really? That's how you guys did it? That's your secret formula? That's your ancient Chinese secret? Was to rip us off in order to afford to buy stuff and then sell it cheaper and then make money back and then make sure everything came through your country and then charge more tariffs to everybody else? I mean, and now it's no loom for you? I don't know if that was a solid business plan. I mean, it worked for a while when you have idiots, that you can buy off and blackmail and do whatever to in charge of the world's greatest superpower. But, once that is gone, then it's just fraud, right?
Same goes for dyeing factories. Many of the big ones have stopped operations too. So really, don't you think this is having a major impact on us? On April 9th, a factory owner shared that several of his peers, after losing their foreign trade business, plan to shift to domestic sales. However, he questioned how they could survive in an already struggling market, saying, if they join the competition now, when things are already this difficult, we'll all just end up dragging each other down. What kind of future can this environment possibly have? He emphasized that this issue affects everyone, not just those directly involved in trade. He advised people to manage their finances carefully and spend cautiously, warning that in just a couple of weeks, everyone could begin to feel the impact. That same day, a financial content creator in
But I mean, they do make a lot of shit people don't need. I mean, there's a lot of, I look around and some things are cute and all, right? And I guess they're cool. I don't know, but they make so much extra stuff, right? It's not just the stuff that people want, but it's the stuff that, you find at that little junky stuff, right? It's out there, a little plastic this, plastic that. Just a bunch of things I don't know that people ask for. Like they just put them out there, like, oh, that says this might sell. But there seems to be a lot of waste too, right? Maybe it's a way for them to learn how to scale their system back down a little bit and just make what's necessary instead of making a bunch of weird stuff that nobody wants. Which I don't know. I'm not a manufacturer. If I was, I'd probably be a lot richer, but I'm not. But I don't know. Just they make so much stuff they can't get rid of it, right? And then with the low tariffs or no tariffs on their stuff is their key, right? So one little thing One little adjustment and they can't handle it, and all of a sudden the whole country's going to go out of business.
Jing posted
I
a
mean, it beats going to war with them.
video claiming that foreign trade factories in Jiangsu could collapse as a result of the U.S. tariff hike. Today, I met with a client in the textile export business. The raw materials had just arrived in the morning, and production was about to start. But by noon, they were hit with news of a 104% tariff.
You know, they're like, don't waste any of that, any of this fabric textiles. You better use every damn thread.
As a result, all the orders were canceled, and the factory immediately announced a shutdown. Sure, we also imposed an 84% tariff on the US, and that did boost morale, right? But after the slogans fade, has anyone really thought about what comes next? The most immediate.
Do you guys think that Trump has some leverage over China on this? Think there's a little bit of leverage there? They're like, but not burn it down. We don't care. Sure you don't. Sure you don't. A little bit of leverage to get these things up and running again, huh? Just got to play fair, guy. Just play fair.
The impact is that many export-focused factories will have to cut production, lay off workers, and a lot of people could lose their jobs. To survive, these export-oriented factories will need to shift to domestic sales. But doesn't that mean the factories already doing domestic business will be dragged into even fiercer competition? In the end, we all get caught up in it, and you can't expect the domestic market to absorb all that excess capacity. On April 9th, a TikToker working in finance in Xiamen shared her thoughts on the US raising tariffs.
First, I work in finance.
She's my favorite.
A couple of days ago, I asked our export clients how the tariffs were affecting them. They told me that 90% of their business has been suspended, and that was when the tariff increase was just 54%. Now it's likely that everything is on hold. If the trade war drags on, exports will be impossible, and all the related industries will be affected. Factories, international logistics, platform promotions, all of them are without orders, and we won't be able to collect fees. Just the income loss for people in these industries is huge, let alone the inflation the tariffs will cause, leading to a chain reaction.
Bottom line, communism doesn't pay. All right. This poor woman is suffering under the regime of communism and their dirty dealings. By the way, just want to FYI, we seem to have some large thunderstorms rolling in. So if I suddenly disappear, Talking Trash and Truths will come take over the show and do exactly what I'd be doing. So don't you worry about that. Well, kind of, not really, but she'll take over the show. And if I get back in time, shut it down, but it is rumbling around here. So FYI, don't go nowhere though, because I'll fight off that lightning for you. All right. So let's finish up here. Yeah, communism doesn't pay.
So really, don't change jobs too easily this year. Holding on to your job is the best thing you can do.
Another female TikToker shared her experience with the US raising tariffs.
Trump's tariff increase might not have hit many people yet, but I really have to laugh it off. Last month, our US clients imported our products and the tariff was already 45%. At that time, the clients were desperately asking me for a price cut, but I couldn't lower the margins any further. As you know, the US market isn't sensitive to prices, it's sensitive to quality. With 45% tariffs, we were barely holding on to our quality-sensitive products. But after...
What does that mean? With 45% tariffs, they are barely hanging on to their quality? Interesting take. Have a good night, RB. Thanks for being here, man. That's an interesting take. The tariffs help them make the products more quality. Interesting.
After these recent changes, I'm really embarrassed to ask the clients to place orders. They said they are still discussing, and I just replied with one word, okay. Because honestly, I don't even know what else to say.
She pointed out that many foreign trade influencers offering so-called countermeasures were being unrealistic. Faced with such steep tariffs, there are no real strategies, only the option to endure. When prices double, will customers still accept them? If not, the deal is
or make a deal.
Likely off. She stated bluntly that unless a business is essentially giving products away for free, like a charity, no one would be willing to import regular goods under such high tariffs.
Uh-oh, now you're getting it.
On April 9th, an article published on a Chinese WeChat public account described the current situation of China's foreign trade industry. The author explained that on April 8th, they sent a survey to around 20 friends involved in foreign trade, asking how they plan to respond to the new US tariff policies. The responses showed that about half were either taking a wait-and-see approach or had already stopped production. A quarter planned to raise prices, while another quarter were preparing to give up on the US market entirely. Only 10% believe the impact will be short-term and minimal. Most business owners were pessimistic. Half said the situation was serious but survivable, while the other half said it was severely affecting their operations, with no solution in sight. On April 9th, a content creator named Michael shared that he had just returned to China after a trip to the US, landing in Xiamen on the morning of March 29th. It had only been 8 or 9 days since his return, yet he was surprised by how quickly the US-China tariff situation had worsened in that short time.
我其实刚刚从美国回来，我从美国回来是应该是3月29号，就中国时间3月29号一早落地的厦门。
This year, we actually anticipated there might be tariff issues. So I took my team to the US for more than 10 days and also visited Canada for a few days in anticipation of the tariffs. But I didn't expect them to be this high. Plus, now the tax rates between the two countries are so high. Will there be decoupling? Honestly, I'm really quite scared myself. Michael said that ever since the new tariffs were announced, his company took an immediate hit. One major client officially moved a $10 million order to Malaysia, which directly cost his company at least $2 to $3 million in losses. Let's take a quick look back at how this tariff war unfolded. It started on April 2nd when Trump announced the US would impose a 34% tariff on Chinese goods, effective April 9th. In response, China said it would slap a 34% tariff on US goods.
Big mistake.
Starting at 12:01 p.m. on April 10th. Then on April 8th, the White House stepped it up again, saying that from midnight on April 9th, tariffs on Chinese imports would jump to 104%. Not to be outdone, Beijing announced on the evening of April 9th that starting the next day at noon, it would impose an 84% tariff on all US products.
Bigger mistake.
China's Ministry of Commerce also rolled out sanctions against 18 US companies. 6 were added to the unreliable entity list, meaning they're banning from importing, exporting, or investing in China. The other 12 were put on an export control list, restricting military-related tech transfers. Shortly after that, Trump fired back again, raising tariffs to 125%, effective immediately. According to Reuters, China responded by censoring all online discussions of tariffs on platforms like Weibo and WeChat, while at the same time amplifying anti-US messaging. On April 9th, China's State Council Information Office quickly released a white paper titled China's Position on Several Issues Concerning Sino-US Economic and Trade Relations. It claimed the US broke previous agreements and forced China to respond, while also trying to make China look open to negotiations. The paper accused the US of using issues like fentanyl and port taxes as excuses to pressure China, painting Beijing as a victim.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The precursor to fentanyl that comes out of China exclusively. Oh, yeah.
That same day, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs declared that China had the strength and confidence to handle the risks and challenges ahead. It also
big mistake.
Also claimed that global investors were still optimistic about China's economy, saying that abandoning China is like abandoning the next decade of growth. But on the ground, things look very different. On April 9th, Zhou Ning, an e-commerce seller from Jiangxi, told Radio Free Asia that China's business climate is now the toughest it's been since the reform and opening up era. He said the US canceling duty-free treatment for small parcels have been devastating for millions of small online sellers. Tariffs on e-commerce packages mean we can't lower costs. That makes it really hard to sell overseas. For Chinese e-commerce, profit only comes from high volume. It's not just me. Everyone running an online store is in the same boat. Zhou Ning predicted that China would face a new wave of business closures, and foreign and Taiwanese invested companies would likely also suffer. Regarding China's increased retaliatory actions, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said on April 9th in an interview with Fox Business that Beijing's actions were unfortunate and a loser for them. He emphasized that U.S. exports to China were 5 times less than China's exports to the U.S., meaning that the tariffs would hit China harder. Bessent also warned that if Beijing further devalued the yuan, it could trigger a global tariff chain reaction. He also revealed that the U.S. government was considering delisting Chinese companies from U.S. stock exchanges and creating new export capital controls.
Yeah, I mean, why do we let communist countries into our finances, into our property? It's like we've forgotten our history or something. Well, they may be communists, but they're being nice now. It's like we've forgotten our history. It's never really they're never really being nice, right?
Global tariff push initiated by the U.S. has quickly escalated into a full-blown trade war between the U.S. and China, with the whole world watching closely. According to the White House, around 70 countries have already reached out proactively to start trade negotiations. On April 8th, European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen spoke with Chinese Premier Li Qiang, urging Beijing to resolve the tariff control through dialogue. They also discussed setting up a mechanism to
fix this shit.
track how Chinese goods, redirected by US tariffs, might start flooding European markets instead. Li Tianbao, an honorary professor at Niagara University's School of Business, said that when the US first imposed tariffs on Canada and Mexico, many people weren't sure what the real target was. But just a few days later, it became obvious. China was a real focus, and everything else was just a lead-up. Observers also noted that on April 8th and 9th, Beijing held a rare high-level Central Peripheral Work Conference with Xi Jinping personally presiding. Political commentator Li Yinyi said that although the meeting's content wasn't made public, it clearly came in response to the mounting pressure from the escalating trade war. The Chinese leadership had expected global support when it pushed back against the US, but instead found itself isolated. Even Southeast Asian countries didn't rally behind it, leaving China increasingly surrounded and alone. China analyst Wang He pointed out that China's industrial overcapacity has become a major concern for the global market. Many countries are suffering under the weight of cheap Chinese exports and are unlikely to unite with Beijing. Plus, no economy can afford to break ties with a massive US market. An article published that same day in The Economist described China's approach as a high-stakes gamble. According to the article, Beijing is betting on time, expecting that as US tariffs drive up consumer prices and strain jobs, Trump will eventually be forced back to the negotiating table. But The Economist warned that China's own supply chains could buckle before the US does. This is a gamble with real costs. Ye Yaoyuan, a professor of international studies at the University of St. Thomas, said the escalating tariff war is pushing China's industrial chain inward and deepening its economic struggles. Rising unemployment could have serious consequences for the Communist Party's hold on power.
That the next generation coming up. But I mean, who would think, right? Who thought? I mean, look, if you're against a perceived new world financial order, then this is really good news for you, right? And for all of us, because the new world financial order was going to be China at the top because of these past practices and what they've been able to do with that, becoming the major exporter of the world, right? Taking manufacturing from everywhere else and bringing it there at slave wage labor prices that help cushion your bottom line. And then, basically maneuvering the world into a stranglehold of sorts. So to take on and resist such a new world financial order emerging, right? You have to go and you have to hit them where they're most enabled by it, right? And so that is evidently this tariff practice that has given them a leg up, and also the exporting of American jobs to their country, jobs from around the world, not just American, but yeah, very much so here around the world, right? That hurts us in the long run. This correction that we're going through, this mechanism known as tariffs for that correction, is undoing this push towards a new world financial order. And we know on the legs of that would have been this implementation of policies, procedures, and worldly treaty initiatives that would China would be very happy with. Right? They would be very happy with that. And believe me, if you want to see what a real collapsing, what it really looks like in America when things collapse, let us lose world reserve currency status today, right now, the way things are. When you don't have that world reserve currency status, right? All of a sudden things get really expensive for us, and we're not ready for that. So in time, Grims, what's up? Calling it. Good man. Good to see you, Grim. Thank you for being here. It's good to see you as always. One of our oldest and most dear friends to the channel, Grim's Bar. Good to see you, my friend. I hope to see you again very soon. And until then, keep on winning, my friend. All right. So yeah. But when we're going to take this on eventually, right? We always had plans to do it. I don't know if anybody knew what that was going to look like, right? So even in the deepest, darkest realms of regions of the abyss, down in the second veil, down deep, dark in unsubstantiated conspiracy land. Has no one ever come up? That's what I always said about the second veil, and always will. It's the world of no solutions, right? They have no solutions and no strategy. They just want to tell you everything they think is happening and scare the shit out of you with it. But really, there's no solutions, right? So you never heard anybody talk about how we would reverse this, right? It's just supposed you got to fill in the blanks. That's where the AI mechanism takes over in your brain. You fill in the blanks with what you think it is, and then someone goes out there and says, "Well, this is what I think what's going to happen because of my, my experience and my imagination put together." But that's it, right? But no one looked at like, okay, well, how do you really dismantle this mechanism that's got going on? How do we reverse the damage? What's holding them up? What's making this possible for them? And are we enabling that? And if so, how do we reverse that, right? How do we change things? Well, turns out it was tariffs, amongst other things, but tariffs is a major part of it. Manufacturing jobs and where things are manufactured is the other 2-point plan. Probably more than that, but right at the high level, you fix the trade imbalance, right? You level out the playing field on tariffs, and you erase tariffs for people that are making things here in America. We want to buy American. I almost went upstairs and trying to find. I still have my Star Wars sheets from when I was a kid. Believe it or not. So one of the things that survived my life somehow. I lost most of my childhood somewhere. Parents threw it all out. I didn't want this stuff. It's worth too much money and sentiment. But my Star Wars sheets somehow survived, and those things are just as crisp and blue and look just as new as the day we got them. I mean, it's this amazing quality, and I'm pretty sure I looked at it and it was made in America. Right, this is way back in the 70s when they made stuff, but it's still you can feel the material, you can feel that none of the seams have come off. At least now, at least the sheets that I have. They're all quality, and the colors are after being through the wash a million times and being in closets and boxes over the years and whatnot, still just being bright, vibrant colors on this fabric. Yeah, and it's like that's the quality that we've just learned how to disregard, and then how many people have junk drawers just full of junk. Junk. I might need this. I might need that. Another plastic part of this. You open up another thing from China, you get another set of Allen wrenches, another freaking screwdriver, and like this stuff just piles up. They don't care. There's like more stuff. You're just moving it from place to place. You can't get rid of it because you might use it one day, right? So that the little things pile up so fast. I mean, even over the course of like a few years, like if you don't keep on top of your little stuff, the little stuff starts to take over, right? You really have to, right? So many Allen wrenches, and it's like you just keep piling up. You won't throw them away because you might need them. It's like this mental block of trying to keep things they're necessary, but you want to keep stockpile in case you need them one day and close by. Then all of a sudden you turn around and you got 10 of the same thing, and it's just like this whole like hanging on to thing mentality. And they don't make it easy because you have all these extra parts and things break down and they work halfway, and then you get an upgraded version of it. So I mean, there's a lot of practices, dare I say, unsustainable, but I should say wasteful and unnecessary in nature, right? That we still are, the consumerism of our lifetime is still kind of like hanging on to bad habits that we can hopefully correct too. Maybe just by going back to buying less but more quality, and the things that we buy last longer and are relevant longer. That might be a good way to do it. How many phones do you have sitting around in a drawer somewhere? How many cords? God, the cords, man. How many cords you got? How many charging cords you got? These are just like little things that come with everything. And then they end up piling up. But you need them for those things, right? But they do end up going crazy. And then of course, once you get the cords mixed in with other cords, there's no finding the cord. You just kind of find one that's the right shape. There was a time I wanted to try to keep the cords with the things it came with, but that was stupid. There's just too many cords that come with too many things. So now they just share a drawer, right? They can just be one big happy family. Right to repair. Actually, I thought you said right to reply for some reason. One last point. The left should praise tariffs as they are green for the environment, less CO2. Yeah, right. They should. They should love them. Maybe we should have told them to hate that we hate them first. And they could be like, no, but we love tariffs. Oh, okay, you guys are right. We're gonna tariff everybody now. No, wait, no. We should start getting out ahead of them just to have some fun, some new kind of fun with them. So before we go ahead and move forward with anything, let's first convince them that they love it and we hate it, and then we just flip the script on them. That would probably work out pretty good. I don't think I.
Excuse me, Raquel, if I could just
Okay, hold on. I think that's the one I wanted. Give me 1 second. Let's see. More China tariff stuff. Oh, that's that. Was this the one with Shimu and Weimu? Okay, here's more. Let me move this one up because I'm not gonna watch this thing. We're gonna get into the legal stuff here in a second. Legal stuff coming up, guys. Oh, just for you, legal stuff. But the cool dude that can actually explain it and make it interesting.
Massive closures of Chinese supermarkets. People scramble to grab discounted goods. The truth about Temu fully exposed. The hidden danger.
There, who was asked about Temu? I think it was Soulless Ginger that was asking.
Behind low prices, you must know. The tariff war escalates. China's small parcel tariff.
This is like going to be this image right here is becoming like the big image for the trade war, right? Look at all those containers.
Some goods exported to the U.S. rise.
Look at all those cranes. They lift things.
Will Trump's new tariff blow wipe out Chinese e-commerce?
Oh, there you go.
China's man-made ancient towns, desolate like ghost cities. Billions.
Yeah, look at these man-made ancient towns. Oh, good old-fashioned man-made ancient towns. I love them.
Spent on unfinished
It's
projects.
like going to Busch Gardens.
Fighting alongside Russian forces, 2 Chinese soldiers were captured in Ukraine, prompting
Fighting with Russia now, huh? Ooh.
Zelensky to demand an explanation from Beijing. Step on board for today's show. Dive into Decoding China, where you'll find all the essential information you need. Economy to a dead end. Massive closures of Chinese supermarkets. People scramble to grab discounted goods.
Look at
in
them
late March,
scrambling.
Zijin supermarket in Yichuan City, Jiangxi province.
Yeah, this is like they're still nice, right? If this was scrambling in the U.S., people would be dying.
China suddenly closed down without any warning. The scene was chaotic, with crowds of people rushing to grab whatever they could. Older folks, uncles and aunties, led the charge, pushing shopping carts piled high like mountains and barreling through the aisles. It didn't even look like they were grabbing goods. It felt more like a battlefield assault. Across China, supermarkets have been shutting down frequently.
Not really. You expect some kind of like giant martial arts battle to break out, right? Like in a Bruce Lee movie. That shit never happens. Never happens. But I mean, if this is like just Black Friday at a Walmart is like worse than this. There are literally people like being skinned and stripped naked and alive and in line. There's like 10 whaling hands coming over on one person. Wigs flying, clothes. It's just and here they are. Oh, let grandma get in line.
A netizen posted a video showing yet another large supermarket closure in Zhejiang.
You stop with this orderly rush on things.
Its first floor was already completely empty.
Look at this. Everybody's so nice. They're standing in line. Like, oh, we're all standing in line. We got our ponytails. They're all ready to go.
In March of this year, Yonghui supermarkets in Guiyang, Guizhou province, faced massive closures, with 8 stores shutting down in just 1 month.
Orderly fashion.
Public records show that Yonghui supermarket is a Chinese mainland chain listed on the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Founded in 1995 and headquartered in Fuzhou, Fujian, as of December 3, 2024, Yonghui had 1,288 open stores spanning 29 provinces and municipalities in 585 cities nationwide.
Orderly.
Many people report that to date,
he's got a
at least
helmet and a basket. He's helping mama shop.
350 stores have closed. One blogger analyzed the reasons behind Yonghui's large-scale closures, linking them to the current sluggish market environment. In the past,
They'll let
returns
anybody
from the
blog
real
over
estate
there,
and
man.
capital markets were relatively high. Even if a brick-and-mortar retail chain like Yonghui wasn't profitable, it could offset losses with profits earned from real estate or stock market investments.
What are you guys looking for?
But now, with real estate and stocks clearly
Like, look, there's stuff
unprofitable,
over here.
industries
Just
like
get it.
supermarkets are finding it increasingly difficult to survive. Blogger Mr. Xiang delved into the deeper commercial logic behind Yonghui's closures. When it comes to supermarkets, the US has Walmart, France has Carrefour, the UK has Tesco, and
I
China
can't
has
joke,
its
they
own
both got
standout
more
brands,
subscribers
with
than me.
Yonghui being one of them. However, in recent years, Yonghui has struggled. Its market value has plummeted, and stores have been closing left and right. The rise of online community group buying is undeniably a major factor.
Ooh, online community group buying. That's interesting. How's that work?
Nowadays,
asking
even physical
questions.
stores are leaning more toward online shopping. Platforms like JD Fresh and Meituan Group purchases have dealt a heavy blow to offline supermarkets.
But you notice how I mean, I keep seeing people pushing around empty carts. Like,
But
there's somebody
Yonghui's
with some
troubles go
stuff
beyond
here.
that. Internal
Come on, show me some
management
full of
disputes have
carts.
also played a
This store's doing all right. It's doing
significant
all
role
right.
in its decline. Two brothers in charge couldn't agree. One wanted to expand online, while the other insisted on focusing on offline stores. In the end, they failed to secure a foothold in either market, allowing competitors to close in step by step. One blogger pondered whether supermarket closures could lead to a collapse
Maybe you should have dissed the mask
in
earlier.
consumption. If supermarkets shut down, what good does it do anyone? With the way things are going, many of these supermarket supply chains and distributors are barely hanging on. Watching these endpoint supermarkets suffer, plenty have already closed their doors for good. You know what's the worst part? Those influencers and suppliers who made a fortune delivering goods to supermarkets, if the supermarkets disappear, their businesses are toast too. In the end, supermarket owners, employees, and landlords all take the hit.
Yep.
No one's making money, a ton of people lose their jobs, and the whole industry collapses.
So China better get your shit straight. You don't want people to suffer. You better just lower those tariffs right now.
Benefits from that? Supermarkets are a key link in providing convenience for ordinary people's daily lives. China issues expert Yushan believes the root cause is a sluggish overall economy. Many people are unemployed and broke, while those with some savings hold on to them for security.
All right. So there you go. More news about that. I won't go. We've watched a lot about that so far. I won't go in depth about that because I got something else to go in depth about. More stuff than that. But I wanted to get to our legal take on this stuff. And what is Trump's tariff end game? Does Robert Gouveia know? He
Excuse
might.
me, Carl, if
I don't
could just
know.
add to what the
I'm just
secretary
asking
said. Many of
questions.
you in the media clearly missed the art of the deal. You clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here.
Hold your ground. Let's see what happens. And China they kept escalating and escalating, and now they have 125% tariffs that will be effective immediately.
Go ahead.
It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, just be cool. It's going to work out.
Chill.
It's going to work out, and it's working out.
The tariff endgame. President Trump is here with a new update, and he dropped this today that caused the markets to go bananas. We saw that CNBC was reporting that the Dow surged 2,900 points, the biggest gain since 2008. Whoa. And so they had live updates for us. It was a whirlwind of a day. But Scott Bessent came out. He said China's in big trouble. They done goof. And the president took some questions on this today as well with the race car drivers out in front of the White House. But it all started with this post from Trump.
Yeah,
Said,
Gouveia is
"Based on the
awesome.
lack of
I'm going to put out his link
China
there for
has shown
anybody
to the
who's
world markets.
watching
I am hereby raising
who
the
hasn't
tariff
heard of him
charge to China
before.
by the United States of America.
Subscribe to his channel. Patrick Stacey, I'm looking at you. That link right there is really for you. I think you'll really like this guy, man. So check him out. He does great stuff. He's probably he's the best at like mixing law and politics together and explaining things in a very concise, easy to understand, friendly and based way. My go-to for legal advice these days, not legal advice, but a legal point of view these days in terms of politics, Robert Gouveia, Esquire. There you go.
America to 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Departments of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against against the United States, I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective.
I love it when a deal
Thank
comes
you for your
together.
attention to this matter, signed by the president. Now, that set off a total whirlwind. As we saw, the S&P skyrocketed almost 10%, the biggest one-day gain since 2008. Things are all over the place. 30 billion shares traded hands. Trump said the pause is coming out. Scott Bessent clarified that all countries except China would go back down to a 10% baseline, down from the higher rates that sent everybody nuts. There was a lot of pressure, and last night things were wild on the markets. If you were following the 10-year Treasury, gosh, it was crazy. It kept going up and up and up. So there's some people saying, well, maybe this was some pressure. Maybe this was them buckling. China was doing things. Japan was doing things. But now the stocks are ripping, as you can see. That's what the chart looked like on the day. Let's go. So good developments there. Now, we also had reaction. The president made the post, and then the media came in with a bunch of questions. And here is this. And the camera angles and other things get better as we go through this.
Trump is going to punch back harder. In that same vein, we have had more than 75 countries from around the world reach out to President Trump and his team here at the White House to negotiate better trade deals for the American worker. We have been overwhelmed with the amount of requests from countries around the world. I'll let the Secretary speak to that. We will continue with the tailor-made negotiations that I spoke about yesterday. In the meantime, there will be a 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs as these negotiations are ongoing, and the tariff level will be brought down to a universal 10% tariff. The Secretary here has been a huge part of the President's trade team, of course, and will continue to lead these negotiations moving forward to look out for the American worker, which is always President Trump's goal. So I'll kick it over to our great Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent.
As the U.S. announced the tariff wall last week, many of those goods have already started flooding into Europe.
So as you see it now, this trade war is China versus the rest of the world.
Well, I'm not calling it a trade war, but I am saying that China has escalated, and President Trump responded very courageously to that, and we are going to work on a solution with our trading partners.
Excuse me, Raquel, if I could just add to what the Secretary said. Many of you in the media clearly missed the art of the deal. You clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here. You tried to say that the rest of the world would be moved closer to China when in fact we've seen the opposite effect. The entire world is calling the United States of America, not China, because they need our markets, they need our consumers, and they need this president in the Oval Office to talk to them. And that's exactly why more than 75 countries have called, because the United States of America is the best place in the world to do business. And as the president has shown great courage, as the Secretary has said, in choosing to retaliate against China even higher. Elena, go ahead.
Can you explain more the decision making on what feels like a reversal here? I think just these went into effect less than 15 hours ago, these tariffs. Why the pause now? What led to that?
No, again, President Trump created maximum negotiating leverage for himself, and which tariffs went into effect 15 hours ago? The ones that we have lowered went into effect a week ago, or they were announced a week ago, and we've just been overwhelmed by the response from mostly our allies who want to come and negotiate in good faith. So we are expecting them to come with their best deal. As I said a week ago today, don't retaliate, hold your ground, let's see what happens. And China kept escalating and escalating, and now they have 125% tariffs that will be effective immediately.
Go ahead. Thanks so much for doing this. The 90-day pause on the reciprocal tariffs, is that because of the whiplash that we've been seeing across the financial markets? How much was what we saw in the stock markets, a part of this decision?
No, it's because of the large number of inbounds. We've had more than 75 countries contact us, and I imagine after today there will be more. So it is just a processing problem. Each one of these solutions is going to be bespoke. It is going to take some time, and President Trump wants to be personally involved. So that's why we're getting the 90-day pause.
There you go.
Secretary, there was a video Secretary left in the Oval Office with the president talking about this. Can you talk about what that conversation was like and what you guys said to one another?
Look, it's all the president's decision, and the president had a level in mind to raise the China tariffs, and then he had a 3-month,
I think he knows what he's doing.
They were discussing the exact wording. Of course.
It's the president's decision.
It was the president's decision. It was the president's decision to wait until today. And again, as I've said in the past, no one creates leverage for himself like President Trump.
What does the president want to see by this, I think it's July 9th deadline, to keep things paused? Is it just trade barriers coming down, or is it more than that?
Well, these are trade negotiations, but if countries want to come and offer other things, I talked about yesterday that we are thinking about a big LNG project in Alaska that South Korea, Japan, Taiwan are interested in financing and taking a substantial portion of the offtake. But again, in essence, that is trade because it will decrease the trade deficit that we have with those countries. So everything's on the table.
Raquel, a verification of the 10% on the pause. What happened to those countries who just had a 10% baseline tariffs, like Brazil and others? Are they still going to have this 90-day pause because we're saying that there will be a tariff of 10% from others? So what happened to those who just had a 10%?
Yeah, that's going to remain.
And do you call this an embargo to China?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by the word embargo.
125% tariffs, like those that impose 84%. Isn't this an embargo?
Well, look, it's China's decision that we have the deficit with them. They sell us almost 5 times what we sell them. So again, I think it's an own goal by China.
It's an own goal. Own goal.
it signals that President Trump cares about trade and that we want to negotiate in good faith. And as I said, each one of these is going to be a separate, bespoke negotiation. So we are confident that having seen the other side of where this could go. And it was like I said last week, the market didn't understand. Those were maximum levels. The countries can think about those levels as they come to us to bring down their tariffs, their non-tariff trade barriers. We're going to discuss currency manipulation, subsidy of labor and industry.
Will the clause also apply
Boom. Unrigging the game.
pharma, lumber, anything else?
No, it's on the reciprocal.
Mr. Secretary,
I want to ask you about the so the market
Right.
is basically reacting crazily, right?
I haven't seen it.
That this move is going to sort of change and calm down the market reaction?
Well, I think what we've seen, I think the willingness by more than 75 countries to come and negotiate, I think now the market understands that everything they saw last Wednesday was a ceiling, and now we have a 10% be a temporary floor. And I think that my 35 years in the market, I always wanted certainty, so I think we've got more certainty.
But Mr. Secretary, why do people assume this is the last word? The president began this morning saying, be cool. 5 hours later, he announced a new policy. Why will investors in the market assume this is it?
Because, again, as I said, we've given 90 days, and the only certainty we can provide is that the U.S. is going to negotiate in good faith, and we assume that our allies will too. And in terms of certainty, we will see what China does. But what I'm certain of is what China is doing will affect their economy much more than it will ours.
Seems like it, doesn't it?
An export-driven, flood the world with cheap export models.
Yeah, we're sick of it.
The rest of the world now understands, because when we put up our tariff wall, those exports were already flowing to the rest of the G7 and to the global south.
Secretary, how much of this
You see why we covered all that up front, right? Gives you the foundation for conversations like this.
decision was driven by the bond market cratering overnight. What is happening?
Yeah, the
with
10-year.
China selling their bonds?
I have nothing that says that. And we actually had quite a good 10-year auction today. Again, this was driven by the president's strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along. And that you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world be the bad actors. And we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate. Things will turn out well.
Secretary, these negotiations with these 75 countries.
It wasn't a hard message at all.
Will it be a matter of weeks? Will it be a matter of months? Do you expect financial markets to be stable during that time period?
Well, we started with a 90-day pause, and we will see if more countries turn up what will happen. But we have a meeting with Vietnam today, and we have one of the largest trade deficits with them. So I'm hoping it will move in a good direction. I was at the Japanese ambassador's house last night for the Cherry Blossom Festival, which is quite festive. And he and I had a good chat. They are going to send a deal team over. So we'll see. These are complicated negotiations. These are imbalances that have taken decades to create. But I think having seen
Deal
the
team
maximum
6.
level Donald Trump is willing to go to, President Trump has created this negotiating leverage.
The secretary is obviously a very busy man. As he has said, he's had more than 75 countries that the trade team has to respond to. I'd just like to end with this. For decades, Republicans and Democrats have said that these unfair trade practices are ripping off the American people, are ripping off our country, but nobody has ever done anything to address it. We finally have a president here at the White House who is playing the long game, who is doing what is right for the American worker and our industries here at home. And he has put together a fantastic team in Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lustnick, the entire trade team who will be focusing on negotiating these good deals to put the American workers first. And we're going to get to work to do that.
Why is not being treated like China? They retaliated this morning. Oh, they did? Well, they better walk that back. Maybe they're like, oh, crap, and they're going to walk that back. We'll see. Of course, what happens? Scott has a lot of work to do. And Trump came out and brought the race car drivers out, and he took some questions after he was with them for a little bit. He got a bunch of questions about this. Here's what that sounded like outside the White House today.
There was a pause put in on the tariffs. Can you walk us through your thinking about why you decided to put a 90-day pause?
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, they were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions, because we have a big job to do. No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents, they wouldn't have done it.
No.
And it had to be done. What was happening to us on trade, if you look at it, not only with China, but China was by far the biggest abuser in history, and others also, but somebody had to do it. They had to stop because it was not sustainable. Last year, China made $1 trillion off trade with the United States. That's not right. And now I've reversed it. It's for a short period of time, but we made $2 billion. We're making now $2 billion a day. And somebody had to do it. Roger actually said it. Charles Schwab was here a little while ago, one of the great financial people, and he said he's been waiting for 40 years for somebody to do what I did over the last month. And if you didn't do it, you wouldn't have a country. It wouldn't be sustainable. So I'm honored to have done it. And, look, nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. It's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well, and they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. out in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal. And we have many other countries, as you know, many more than 75, and they all want to come. They want to come here, or they'll go to Commerce, or they'll go to Treasury. We have our great senators here and congressmen. They'll call John, they'll do somebody, they'll go through somebody, but they're all calling, how do we do this? They all want to make a deal. Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them, if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate.
Do it.
So
Promise
we'll
is
see how it
made,
all works
promise
out. I
is
think it's going to
kept.
work out amazing. I think that our country is going to be at the end of a year or shorter, but I think we're going to have something that nobody would have dreamt possible. A man like Roger Penske, I don't want to get him in trouble with China, so I won't, but he would know that someday you have to cut the bow and you have to do what you have to do, right, Roger? And that's what I did, and I'm very happy to have done it.
The Prime Minister of Greece just told Breitbart's Matt Boyle that he thinks absolutely the European Union and the United States could work out a trade deal that's win-win and, quote, mutually beneficial to both sides. What do you think about the Prime Minister's comments?
bet.
Do you think a deal could be struck with the European Union?
First of all, I know him, he's a good man, and I appreciate his comments. Yeah, a deal could be made with every one of them. A deal's going to be made with China. A deal's going to be made with every one of them, and there'll be fair deals. I just want fair. They will be fair deals for everybody, but they weren't fair to the United States. They were sucking us dry, and you can't do that. You know, we have $36 trillion of debt for a reason. We don't have it there for fun. They have it for a reason, and people took advantage of our country, and they ripped us off for decades. I've been thinking about this for decades. If you have so many about it, I was young like these guys, and it was a good old days, I'll tell you, Roger. But I was like these guys, young, and I was talking about it. Nothing changed, and nothing was done about it. Then I did it in my first term. I did it and did it well. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China and others, and I started the process. But then we had to fix up from the COVID mess caused by China. We had to fix up from that, and we did a good job of doing it. And when we handed back the reins after a rigged election, when we handed back the reins, the stock market was higher than it was before COVID coming in. So, you know, we did a great job, but we didn't have time to do the big thing, which we're doing now. And, you know, it's like a patient is sick. You have to do surgery. The patient is very, very sick. And Joe Biden handed us over a country that was in very serious trouble, economically and in every other way. They let China run away with things. They let other countries run away with things. And maybe worst of all, in a certain way, is what they did at the border. We had people pouring into our country by the millions. Many of them were murderers and drug lords and thieves and people from prisons from all over the world. And there were people from mental institutions, insane asylums. They were taking them mentally insane, and they were dumping them into our country. And I'll tell you, Tom Homan and Christine Noem are doing a fantastic job in removing them. And
they are. We're going to hear from Tom in just a minute.
Numerous good rulings.
And they sued again.
We have to be able to get them out. You had other judges trying to take over the system. And think of it, they take over. They want these people coming back. Tren de Aragua from Venezuela, the Venezuela jails that cut off the fingers of a man in Colorado. They cut off his fingers because he called the police looking for help. They said, did you call the police? He said, yes, I did. Put your hand down, and they cut off the fingers. This is what they want to bring these people back. No.
ACLU's favorite
I want to thank
people.
President of El Salvador for the job.
They love any destabilizing force they're behind.
For decades. How come when these Democrat elites want tariffs, everything's hunky-dory, but when President Trump wants tariffs, all hell breaks loose? Do you see this stuff?
Great question.
I love this guy.
Yeah, great
Whatever
question.
The hell that is. That's really nice. I appreciate that question. No, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They was saying about, see, just be cool. It's going to work out.
Chill.
It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought. But I said it's going to take a little conditioning. It's a transition to. It's really, I think, it's a transition to greatness. It's going to be greatness. Our country's going to be. There'll be nothing like it.
A lot of sirens
and
today.
People investing
Sheesh.
in our country, they're going to do better than ever done before. We have more car manufacturers, Roger, coming into our country now. Speaking of cars, we've never seen anything like it, and they're coming in because of the election, but they're coming in because of the tariffs, because they don't want to pay 25 or 50 or whatever it may be. They don't want to pay that. They can't pay that. We had 3 cancellations in Mexico, building a plant. They're all coming into the United States. Canada, they're coming in from China. They're coming in from everywhere, and that's just cars.
Everywhere.
We have chip makers coming. We're the biggest chip maker in the world from Taiwan, coming in, spending $3 billion to build plants. Mostly a big plant. This is a hell of a plant when you spend the kind of money that they're going to go $200 to $300 billion, not million. You know, you'd say million would be the right number. It's not $200 to $300 billion. Think of that, $300 billion. If you look at Apple, Apple is going to spend $500 billion building a plant. They wouldn't be doing that if I didn't do this. They'd just keep building them in China, and that's unsustainable. It's not a pleasant thing to do, but I appreciate the question. And
right,
you know,
stop supporting
Chuck Schumer
communism.
and Nancy Pelosi, crazy Nancy, they
wrong,
wanted to
people?
do this for years, but
What's
they never
wrong,
had a president
people?
that had the guts to do it, because it does take guts, believe me.
Because you said that these tariffs would go into effect on Monday. You said no pause. Today there is a pause. So
yeah, it's not a question of that. You have to have flexibility. I could say,
You said you wouldn't
I'm going to go
do
through
this
that
or
wall.
pause
I'm
it,
gonna
but
go
you
through
did.
it no matter what. Keep going, and you can't go through the wall. Sometimes you have to be able to go under the wall, around the wall, or over the wall. These guys know that better than anybody, right? You got to go around them sometimes. You're not going to go through them. So I consider, you know, I think in financial markets, because they change. Look how much it changed today. We went from pretty moderate today, but over the last few days, it looked pretty glum to, I guess they say it was the biggest day in financial history. That's a pretty big change. And I think the word would be flexible. You have to be flexible. Like he's asking the question about some companies. Some companies, through no fault of their own, they happen to be in an industry that is more affected by these things than others. You have to be able to show a little flexibility. And I'm able to do that. I'm going to say hello to these champions because they are great champions. I got to say hello.
All right. That's the president today.
There you
So
go.
can
There's
see he was
two
out there
things I was
answering
going to
all the
cover.
questions about the
Covering
tariffs
one,
while he was
one spot.
multitasking, hanging out with race car champions. So that's the president, and some good developments from him. So we'll see what happens. And it's interesting. Questions we hear are from people who sound like they've never had a negotiation or a back and forth
ring the
in their
bell.
entire lives. It's like, well, you changed. Well, that's kind of how this whole thing works. And it's okay to say something and hold the line. And then when something changes, adjust your strategy to conform to the new reality. So that's what they did. And I think ultimately the pressure on China is really where the end game was from the beginning. So Trump out there
Seems
explaining
like
what
it.
happened, and the stock market looking pretty good. Those charts going up and up and up, and the winning continues.
Yep, the winning does continue right here,
every
right
single
now.
time. Everybody's running for the hills. What do I?
There we go. 1 hour mark. Oh yeah, this is the one with the history of Trump and tariffs. No one should be surprised. Well, after this one, we'll probably go to the conferences and whatnot. Let me see what the time frames on that. The first one's important. The second one we're kind of going to listen to and probably not get through because the cabinet, multiple questions, tariffs. This whole thing's going to be about the same damn thing. That's why I didn't do a show Tuesday. I was like, man, everything's the same. It's all tariff. I wanted to give you guys something more. I wanted to bring you here and ask a bunch of questions. Never answer any of them. That's because that's what works, right? I just give you more questions than answers. Now I wanted to give you a premise of what to work on. When we see the deeper dive than what's out there, right? Sometimes that takes a couple of days to get to, but the real deeper issue here is with China and their rise to become the leader of the economic order. And how is this play into that strategy to stop that from happening? How does it play into the strategy of reforming and making America great again and put it back on track again, get the corruption and the foul play out of it, and get the people who are part of it either disabled or criminally charged or arrested or just out of the game, right? How do we get the bad actors out of the game here and around the world? And as the smoke began to clear, it was obvious that China was going to be in major focus here, and for a lot of other folks, just like, oh yeah, we heard you, we didn't slap back, and so now they're like, yeah, cool. So we're going to pause them and we're going to make a deal with you because you want to make a deal, and this is how you just told us you wanted to make a deal. You told us that you wanted to make things right, that you believed in fairness, right? China told us the opposite, right? And that they're only out for their own ass, and they've been gaming the system the whole time. So, more on that than just your average report. So it was worth a couple of days wait, right? Of course it was. I'd rather bring equality than quantity. And like I said, I'm not like, I don't wake up every day going, God, I got to get online so someone's looking at me. I got to get online. Someone sees me. I need to be seen. I need to be heard. It ain't me. Me. A lot of times I think about what would if I was going to do another channel, like what would I be doing? I don't even know. But I look at people who do hobby channels, and I'm kind of envious, gotta say. I got my favorite wrestling channel, I got my favorite football channel, I got my favorite sci-fi stuff channel, channels. I got my favorites, right? And I go watch them, and I'm like, I'm so glad these guys are doing good and have a never-ending flow of content that people enjoy watching. That doesn't always have to do with politics or something like that. So it's up and down with the news, and there's a lot of people doing it, and it's all about their takes and your takes, and whether or not YouTube will let you get out there and make some new friends, right? But anyways, I digress. So that's what we're talking about today: China and tariffs, and all the way around. So hopefully, I'm going to provide you with some different angles that you won't get other places, and that will be the added value for you coming and winning reality with the rest of us here. All right, let's see what this woman has to say. This is Trish Regan. Haven't had her on before, but she seems like She's pretty cool. I don't think she's wearing an Eagles jersey,
But do
but
I
she
buy
should
because
be.
you know what? I am a big believer in America. I also have time on my side and I have the liquidity to be able to do it. So, you know, you don't do this if you don't have
Some
money
big
hanging
ass
around that you
diamond
can invest.
earrings.
You don't do this if you need the money next year or next week or even 3 years from now. I'd be careful. But I'm looking at it saying,
Anybody know this woman? I don't know. I thought this was a good take on things.
this is an opportunity because I haven't seen the VIX, the volatility index, in this kind of territory for quite some time. I mean, it was up in the 80s around March 2020, but there's been like 4 periods in history where we've seen this kind of volatility since 1952. So to me, it represents an opportunity. Meanwhile, we got some good news. We got some very good news because we've learned from Treasury Secretary Bessent today that he's negotiating with Japan. The president has said to him, make sure you get a deal with Japan. In the meantime, China, good luck, China. Ooh, things are going to be
Good
tough
luck,
in China. 'Cause you
China.
know what? We're not going to buy their stuff. He's slapping another 50% tariff on things. We're going to get to that in just a second. But I first want to point out none of this should surprise anybody. What did he say back in 2012? This is a good one. Take a listen.
And
2012.
somebody said, well, what would you do? What can you do? So easy. I drop a 25% tax on China. And you know, I said to somebody that is really the messenger. The messenger is important. I could have one man say, we're going to tax you 25%. And I could say another, listen, you motherfuckers, we're going to tax you 25%.
Last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily. I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion. And yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Albert. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me. And I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not. But I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, but you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country.
No, Trish Reagan
how
is.
we're really making other people live like kings and we're not.
What do you think of this year's presidential race, the way it's shaping up?
Well, it's going to be very interesting. I think that probably George Bush has an advantage in terms of the election. I think that probably people would say that he's got like that little edge in terms of the incumbency, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Jesse Jackson's done himself very proud.
Okay. All right. So the point just being that he's been consistent throughout the years. I mean, you can go back decades, you can go back to 2012, you can go back to the entire election cycle. We knew that he wanted this. And by the way, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. And that, you know, the China thing has been a mess forever. And what's incredible, and I've played this on my shorts feed, is all the Democrats have been saying this for years, right? Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they've over and over again, they've pointed it out. Obama pointed it out. Everybody's pointed it out. Nobody's been willing to tackle it. So he's willing to tackle it. But in doing so, well, he tackled a lot. And I do think he does not have the best and the brightest around. Scott Bessent is fantastic. Howard Lutnick stands to make a ton. I was going to say something else, but I won't go there. A ton of money in the bond market, right? Because bonds go up when all this nervousness creeps in. And you got Peter Navarro, who, like, I'm sorry, like the guy's a complete lefty. I like him, but I wouldn't actually want him running the whole show. And so I think Donald Trump is realizing that. And that's why he brought Scott in such a big way to at least handle the Japanese negotiation. That's what Scott indicated today. Let me see. Okay, we just started negotiations with Japan. This is a very big deal. Very good news. This just came out moments ago. Following a very constructive phone discussion with the government of Japan, Donald Trump has asked me, Scott Bessent writes, and the U.S. trade rep to open negotiations to implement the president's vision for the new golden age of global trade with Japan.
New golden age.
Okay, guys, this is a really good sign. And this is why the markets are leveling out. Because what this shows is that the administration gets it. In other words, we want our friends to succeed and we want our enemies to fail. Okay? And we do not want to help prop up the economies of our enemies, but we do want to help those that are friends with us.
Makes sense.
So this is a big deal. You know who else is a friend of ours? That would be one Israel. And guess what? Netanyahu and Donald Trump speaking there at the Oval Office moments ago. I have the fresh sound. Let's take a listen.
First, if I can mention tariffs, it's a subject of some interest today. I can tell you that I said to the president a very simple thing. We will eliminate the trade deficit with the United States. We intend to do it very quickly. We think it's the right thing to do. And we're going to also eliminate trade barriers, a variety of trade barriers that have been put up unnecessarily. And I think Israel can serve as a model for many countries who ought to do the same. I recognize the position of the United States. It says, we're allowing other countries to put tariffs on us, but we don't put tariffs on them. And, I'm a free trade champion, and free trade has to be fair trade. And I think that's basically the position that you have put forward, Mr. President. We are going to eliminate the tariffs, and rapidly. I had the opportunity to speak to Secretary Lutnick yesterday. We talked about how we could affect this quickly, and I hope to bring the solution very quickly. We're not talking
very, very quick. I love it. But guess what's happening over in China? You get the market sinking there. Did you see what happened to the Shanghai Composite, Hang Seng over in Hong Kong? In other words, the Chinese markets are sinking because guess what Donald Trump decided to do? He decided to make life even harder for China. You see, they came out over the weekend and they said, we don't really like these tariffs. We think that we'll call your bluff. This is like, you don't want to call Donald Trump's bluff. Okay, guys, you just don't want to go there because all bets are off. Like, this is not George Bush. This is not Biden. This is not Barack Obama. This is not Bill Clinton. This is Donald Trump. And so China's like, we're so upset. We're going to come back with a retaliatory tariff of 34%. And so Donald Trump said just a few hours ago, okay, yesterday, China issued retaliatory tariffs at 34% on top of their already record-setting tariffs, non-monetary tariffs, illegal subsidization of their companies, and massive long-term currency manipulation. All of that is true, by the way. All of that is true. And they make it crazy, like all kinds of rules. Like if you're going to do business over there, you have to do all this other stuff. And then, by the way, they steal your IP. So he's like, this is a problem, along with the currency manipulation. Don't forget the currency manipulation. Despite my warning that any country that retaliates against the U.S. by issuing additional tariffs above and beyond their already existing long-term tariff abuse of our nation will be immediately met with new and substantially higher tariffs over and above those initially set. So therefore, China, you're in trouble. If China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, April 8th, that would be Tuesday, 2025, then guess what? The United States is going to impose an additional tariff on China of 50%.
I get more.
April 9th. So we got like 48 hours to work this out. Well, 24 hours. Because on the 9th, the additional 50% is going to take place. Don't forget, they got hit with the 67%.
And guess what?
So this stuff is adding up.
Promises kept. That's the truth. That's the way it worked out. That is now history. All right. Say here. Thank you for the super chat, Vinyl Pill from Wisconsin. $10 super chat. Thank you so much. I forgot what kind of videos you like. Just remind me and I'll play it if I didn't play the right one. Don't look down, but Trump just shut China out in the cold pretty much single-handedly. Next time, keep a better wrap on those Wuhan labs. I just got home hoping you're having a great stream. Thank you so much, Vinyl Pill. I appreciate that. Appreciate the thought, and I really appreciate the super chat as well. I think we're having a great stream. I think it's going pretty good. We got celebrities in the house. That's good. Always good. And yeah, a lot of people forget about that. He said he's going to make them pay for what they did. I'm going to make them pay. Yep. He's going to make them pay. Oh, cool. I did it right. Good. All women are pretty. I just joke about the blondes though. I got a blonde one too. I think blonde-ish. Looks blonde. All right, lots of thunder and rumbling and all kinds of stuff around here right now. It's just rumbling. But anyways, so we can get to this. It is important that we always think about our border security. But before I go to that, and that was Trish Reagan, y'all. There's some more on that, but she seems to be quite a little firecracker there. All right. Let's see. We got that. Everything's kind of the same, right? So I'm just trying to make the best of the same situation. I'll get all to all the random stories tomorrow night. If we go tomorrow night. So let's see. What time is it? Okay. Well, I still want to do that. We can save that for tomorrow night. Tomorrow night you can check it on what Mike Johnson did. He summoned everybody. And we managed to pass some things, so we'll talk about that tomorrow night. Talk about the aftermath of Bill Maher's visit, what he sounds like now tomorrow night. Well, of course, we'll check back in on the state of the big trade war. Ooh, the big trade war. It's the big trade war. Oh boy. Which doesn't seem to be, we kind of get to watch from the sidelines, right? That's a big old strike right there. All right. And many, many other things. But right now, I want to get over to our press conference portion of the show so that we don't miss anything. When I kind of haven't been hitting all of them as much as I used to, trying to be a little bit more selective in which ones we go over, how important they are, and such and so on. But we haven't heard from Tom Holman in a while, and Director Holman, or yes, Borders are Tom. He's always a fun listen. Don't you guys agree? I think that he is. And then we're gonna hear the latest updates from our main topic from the horse's mouth himself. And yeah. Okay. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. In the halls, the great halls of Arizona lawmakers, where I guess was he in Arizona? I don't know. He's somewhere. You can't stop this guy. It looks like he's somewhere where they wear cowboy hats. So we'll find out shortly here. But Tom Holman, American Badass Borders are.
Director Holman, welcome to Arizona. The floor is yours, sir.
I've come to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all
thanks for
out
the
of
invite.
bubblegum.
So let's talk about what's happening right now. I'm the senior advisor to the President of the United States. Working titles borders are. So what am I doing? President Trump gave me three things to do, three responsibilities. One, secure the border. Two, run a deportation operation, the largest deportation operation this country's seen. I'm going to tell you in a minute why that's important. And three, to find missing children. And we're going to find those missing children. I love it. Thank you for making my day. I love haters. They make my day every day. So let's talk about the truth of what's going on the border. The Biden administration created the most significant immigration crisis in history in the history of this nation. We want the most secure border in my lifetime to unprecedented illegal immigration. Well, now we got President Trump, who happens to be the greatest president of my lifetime, back in office, and we're going to secure the border. We've already done it. We're going to run the biggest deportation operation in the history of this nation, and we're going to find these missing kids. So where are we at?
Oh, yeah.
In a matter of weeks, we have illegal border crossings down 94%.
94.
In weeks.
94%. Put 94s in the chat.
President Trump did in 5 weeks what Joe Biden wouldn't, or didn't even attempt to do in 4 years, which proved that he had the ability to do it all along.
Yep.
He didn't need new laws from Congress. As he said, one of his best lines on the Capitol Hill, we just need a new president, and we got him.
Right.
You know, I woke up every day pissed off for 4 years.
Green Pickle, what's up?
Came in and unsecured the most secure border we ever had on purpose, not by accident, not by mismanagement. This was done on purpose. This was done by design. And when you got 94% less people coming, how many women ain't being raped every day by the cartel? How many children aren't dying on the border every day? How many pounds of fentanyl is not getting into the country to kill Americans? How many people on terrorist watch lists aren't coming to our border? How many people are being released in the United States? I'll tell you right now. The first 2 months under Joe Biden, February, March, they released 184,000 illegal aliens in this country. Same time for President Trump, 9.
Yeah.
4 of them were material witnesses on criminal investigation. 4 were significant emergency medical issues, which means no one's being released. Catch and release is over. President Trump stopped that day one. They like to say how inhumane Trump's policies are. He's a racist. I'm a racist. Hey, whatever. The fact is, we're saving lives every day on that southern border. You want to talk about inhumanity? Let's look at the Biden administration. In the 4 years in power, we had over 4,000 aliens died making that journey, a historic record. We had 250,000 Americans die from fentanyl comes across the border, an historic record. You had a 600% increase in sex trafficking women and children, historic record. You had over 400 people on the terrorist watch list come across the southern border, historic record. 400 in their administration, under Trump's first administration, 13.
Yep.
What's it at now?
That's right.
1. and they didn't get released in the United States. So the border is secure right now. I look at the most important number to me is gotaways. That's what every day I look at what's the apprehension numbers and what's the gotaway numbers. Right now, we went from a high in Biden administration of 12,000 a day to 200.
What?
200. Am I happy? Yeah, I'm happy. I'll be happy when it's zero.
Yeah.
And we're going to get there. The gotaways under Joe Biden, 2.2 million gotaways. Known gotaways. People that cross the border, we got a visual. You got either foot traffic, you got drone traffic, drone video, you got camera video, or sensors. 2.2 million known gotaways. People that came in this country, we don't know who they are, where they come from, or why they're here. Average under Joe Biden, 1,800 a day across the border weren't apprehended because the Border Patrol was so overwhelmed, changing diapers, making baby formula, making hospital runs, they were pulled off the line. 1,800 gotaways a day. What was it yesterday? 41. 41 from 1,800. Is that good? It's very good. I'll be happy when it's zero. Then we have this administration right now in power is going to have, for the first time in history of this nation, have total operational control of our southern border under President Trump. It's going to happen. You can take that to the bank.
All right, let's
now
go.
Let's talk about interior enforcement operators. The second part, running mass deportation operators. I read every day about what a racist, hateful thing that is, the same you have a mass deportation operation. No. When you had 4 years of massive illegal migration on the southern border, here's what you need to know. Millions of people come to the border, make an asylum claim. Asylum is escaping fear and persecution from your home government because of race, religion, political affiliation, or participation in a specific social group. That's what asylum is. We got millions of people come to our southern border, demanding the right to claim asylum, demanding the right to see a judge. They were given that. They got their due process. And guess what? 9 out of 10 will end up with an order removal because 9 out of 10 made a fraudulent asylum claim. They don't qualify for asylum. They said a few key words and released in the United States by the last administration. So at the end of historic illegal immigration, where millions of people come across the border, 9 out of 10 of them will end up with an order of removal from a federal judge. That's why there's going to be a massive deportation operation. You can't demand due process and ignore the decision in the end of that due process, which is an order removal. The law requires it. That's exactly what's going to happen. There are going to be consequences.
We don't have enough judges to hear that many cases.
And if we don't do it, we send the whole world a message. Enter the United States illegally. It's a crime. Go in front of an immigration judge and lose the case, or not show up at all and get an order in absentia. But we're not going to look for you. We don't have to leave. If that's the message we send the whole world, you're never going to fix our borders. Well, you'll fix it during one administration through executive orders. Well, that's a message we send the whole world. It's okay to enter this country legally. It's okay to make a fraudulent asylum claim, and you can ignore a judge's order. If I ignore a judge's order, I'd be in jail. So we're going to enforce the laws of this country without apology. So that's why there's going to be massive deportation operation. For the last administration, caused a massive illegal immigration crisis where 90% of the people shouldn't be here. So that's going to happen. The numbers now are good. We've arrested more people in the first 2 months under the Trump administration than Joe Biden did all year last year. I'm happy. Yep. I'm not satisfied. I was at a panel this morning. ICE director sitting next to me. I want more. There's hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens in this nation with criminal records that walk in the streets. We need to find every single one of them and get them out of this country.
I love his determination. Never quit calm. He always gets
I read in the media every day that, home is not keeping its promises. We're not concentrating on the worst. President Trump said day one, we'll concentrate on the public safety threats and national security threats first. That would be the priority. But I've been clear from day one, if you're in the country illegally, you're not off the table. Prioritization. I can prioritize my family. That doesn't mean I ignore my work life. Prioritization about who we go after first. But in the meanwhile, we're doing that. If we find a non-criminal illegal alien, they're coming too. It's not okay to be in this country illegally. And people hate on me for that. If you're in the country illegally, you should be looking over your shoulder. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's a crime. Yeah. I wouldn't feel comfortable being in another country. And here's what they're not telling you. Why is there so many non-criminals being arrested and put in jail? Again, the vast majority of criminals, but why there's a higher than expected number of collaterals? Because of sanctuary cities.
Yep.
If we can't arrest a bad guy in a county jail, and that county jail is going to release that public safety threat back in the public, which is stupid to begin with, that means I got to send the whole team to the community to find the bad guy, and we will find him. And when we find him, many times he's with others who may not be a public safety threat, but here illegally. And ICE is going to arrest them because that is their job. That's the oath they took, and that's the laws of this nation. The last administration, Alejandro Mayorkas, who everything he did was borderline treasonous, told ICE officers, immigration officers who took an oath to enforce the law saying, you can't arrest somebody for being here illegally unless he is convicted of a serious offense. He rewrote the immigration law. No, we're letting ICE do their job. And when you're out there looking for that bad guy, if you find an illegal alien, you take him too, and he's coming too, and he'll be detained. We're going to enforce the laws of this country without apologies. Sanctuary cities. So-called sanctuary cities, you'll get exactly what you don't want. You'll get more officers in your neighborhood, you'll get more collateral risk because you forced this in those neighborhoods. And I'm sick and tired of hearing the talking point. Well, we're a welcoming community, we're sanctuary city, because we want victims and witnesses of a crime that live in the immigrant community to feel safe coming to law enforcement to report that crime. That is a bunch of garbage. A victim and witness of crime don't want the bad guy back out there either. So what we want is access to the jail. We had no problem when that man was in office. You never, matter of fact, he called us up when someone was in jail. We might have missed. Joe Arpaio. That's the way it should be. If the local law enforcement agency locks somebody in a jail cell, that tells you one thing. He's obviously not a choir boy. He's locked in a jail cell. You locked him in a jail cell for some reason, most likely a public safety threat. Give us access to that guy. That's the guy we want to talk to. We don't want to talk to the victim and witness. Matter of fact, the victim can do it. They might even get a visa as being a victim of crime. But we don't want to talk about the victim and witness. We don't want to meet him. We want access to the guy you locked up. When you're done with him, give him to us.
Yeah.
If you say, well, the detainer's been litigated and people don't think that's constitutional, is making a phone call to us before you release them, is that constitutional? Absolutely it is. So for people who say, well, a lot of non-criminals in custody, Mr. Holman, you're supposed to be concentrating on criminals. Well, guess why? Because sanctuary cities. And we're going to keep doing it. And as far as sanctuary cities, I've been to Boston. I've been to Chicago. No, Chicago said I wasn't welcome. Guess where I was day one of the Trump administration? In Chicago. We arrested TDA members. We arrested illegal aliens with firearms. We arrested illegal aliens, drug traffickers. We arrested 2 illegal aliens that committed homicides. We arrested 9 child rapists. I made a speech at CPAC, and that made the news. You know, every media. Holman said he's going to Boston and bringing hell with him. Yeah, I said it, and I meant it. Who was I bringing hell to? I was bringing hell to 9 illegal aliens that raped a child and weren't turned over to ICE. They'd rather release them in the community. One of them was child rapists. It took us 2 years to find him. How many children did he rape in 2 years when he walked in the streets because that sheriff refused to cooperate with us? So number 2 goal of mine is run this deportation operation. Sanctuary cities are slowing us down because we got to send a whole team out, look for somebody that don't want to be found, but we're going to keep doing it. We'll double the man force in sanctuary cities because they're a big threat to this nation. We will win that battle.
Give me a call.
Thank God we got Pam Bonnie. She's one badass AG. She's going to sue.
Did we get some interruption there? I just paused it. Let me see. All right, we should be all right.
I try not to curse much. If I offend anybody, I don't care. I don't, because I get irritated when I start talking about the false narrative being pushed by the left.
Yes, get mad.
What's the third thing we're doing? Finding missing children. Under the Biden administration, 500,000 children were smuggled in this country. Taken out of the hands of their families, given to a criminal cartel to be smuggled in this country.
Yep, and they all got their hair sniffed by Biden. That was his thing. You didn't see that part. Giant conspiracy. But yeah, they had the ring went through the White House where he would just they would just march him in a line and he would just stick his head out the window and be you know, just like that's what he did that's pretty much what he was doing all the time when he wasn't like following up steps or, you know, saying the wrong things or whatnot. They were just like marching these children past him. He just hung his nose out the window really. And they would just brush by his nose and he'd just be like that was his deal. He's like, you know, I'll do this, but you got to let me sniff as many children's heads as possible. Like, we'll just import them. Like, that's the only way we can get this guy to do this.
Country. And we're the bad guys. All these people who just walked out, what did they do? Did they speak up about that? Did they speak up to the fact that 300,000 of these children can't be found because they're released, the unvetted sponsors? The last administration had one goal: process quick, release quick, because there's no overcrowding. We can stay the border secure, nothing to see here. These are children. I guarantee you, I've been doing this since 1984. I'm 40 years doing this job. Many of these children are in forced labor or in sex trafficking. Fact. ICE has already found some in forced labor and sex trafficking. Fact. Well, these people that walked out carrying their signs, do they care?
Nope.
They want to focus on
they love it.
Tom Homan
They
bringing
want
back
more
family
of it.
detention. Why is Tom Homan talking about family detention?
No, they want it. They love it. They don't want it to stop. They want more forced labor and sex trafficking of children. This is why they're protesting. They love it and they don't want it to stop. I mean, obviously, because if they knew the facts and they didn't love it, or they wanted it to stop, they wouldn't be protesting all this. So obviously, they are very much in favor of these horrible things, and they want to see them continue, if not escalate.
So we can do DNA tests and make sure that child's with a parent and not a trafficker. We're trying to protect children. We're doing the right thing.
Yeah. They don't want you doing the right thing. Those people end up clapping for the right thing.
They say, Tom Homan, the father of family separation. Whatever. What we did in the Trump administration during zero tolerance, children and women are being raped on the border every day. A child died on the border every day. So we said, let's do zero tolerance. Well, if you enter the country illegally, which is a crime, we'll prosecute them. And maybe if we prosecute them, they stop coming. They stop putting their children in harm's way. The ladies get out of harm's way of the criminal cartels who don't care about these people. Studies been done. 31% of women that make that journey get raped by the cartels. So we said, let's prosecute them, made the numbers drop. So we'll do zero tolerance. Zero tolerance is about saving lives, stopping rapes of women on the border. You know what? The border numbers take that zero policy, but families are separated. Just like law enforcement in this room, just like when I was a cop in New York, United States American families are separated every day by law enforcement. When the parent commits a crime, the child don't go to jail with them. But they want a different set of rules for the illegal aliens. Well, they're not getting a different set of rules. Zero tolerance worked, the numbers went down. It's sad and unfortunate that families get separated. Law enforcement does it thousands of times across this country, but there's a good meaning behind it. They want to keep hammering on family separation under Trump, but we got 500,000 kids put in the hands of criminal cartels we smuggling in this country. They don't say a word about that. If I came here to Arizona next month, I'd leave my child, even my dog, in the backseat of the car going to get groceries, I'm going to get arrested. We have 500,000 people and put their children in the hands of criminal cartels, and that's okay? Who knows what happens to some of these children? God help them. Then they release them to unvetted sponsors. Now they can't not get responsible for 300,000 of them. Well, President Trump's committed to do everything he can to find these kids. But I'm going to admit to you right now, that's the toughest job. Of the three things he wants me to do, that's the toughest part of it. Because everybody in this room, you all have a footprint. You own a car, you own a home, you got credit cards, you pay bills. We can find you. You don't have a footprint, which means we got to count on the footprint of the sponsor. Sponsors weren't properly vetted, sponsors that weren't fingerprinted, sponsors whose identification they showed wasn't validated.
Yep.
And we wonder why 300,000 can't be found. But no one talks about that. But the people just walked out of the room. Did they stand up and raise hell about trafficking of children? Did they raise hell about 300,000 missing kids? Did they raise hell about Laken Riley fighting 17 minutes to survive? That young little girl, picture her last 17 minutes of her life. Terrified little girl who's being assaulted by a scumbag, fighting every minute to survive. She didn't want to die. How many TDA members came to this country, murdered and raped women, burned a woman alive on a subway?
Yep. Yep. Strong words from Tom Homan. I'm sorry that wasn't the whole thing, but I think we got a good dose there. Tom is just as feisty and motivated and effective as ever, right? As ever. Let's do this. Oh, yeah, I like that. All right. So, yeah, go on, Tom. Go and get it. He's going to keep going, man. And I like the fact that he's not settled with just good results. He wants close to perfect results as possible. And that's what he's got to do. He knows what he's got to deliver. He knows what he's been asked to do, and he knows he's got to deliver on it. And that's what he does every day. And he doesn't care what any of those wackos think that say all these crazy things that want child trafficking and forced labor to continue. The big giant scam unveiled in the documentary. Well, we knew about it, but we didn't know the depths of it. In Line in the Sand by James O'Keefe, O'Keefe Media Group, and also Muckraker, the Muckraker documentary series. Both those guys did tremendous work exposing the perps behind the border invasion, which is now on the men's. As we continue to push forward, so many other things going on that people barely even think, if you noticed, I mean, there's some ICE protests, right? There's some here and there every now and then. But you notice how they've all shifted off of that? Like that was supposed to be like a real important thing to them, right? Oh, no, don't do that. Don't send these innocent people back. Give them more money. But, boy, they start going after USAID and their money laundering schemes. Oh, no. That's the focus. Everybody go over there. Fight that. Fight Elon, fight Elon. Meanwhile, Tom's at the border just cleaning shit up. Okay, we're going to find the missing children. We're going to put you all out of business. We're going to seal the border up. And then we're coming after everybody who did it. But you guys focus on Elon for a while, right? Then Trump's like, I can fix that. I'll just do tariffs now, right? So now you're all going to fixate on that. Again, more of the global scam that's going on. But they were getting some kickbacks from that for sure, too. China's like, we pay you millions. You're not supposed to let this happen. Well, we're sorry, we can't do anything. Now you're done. Now you're done for. Now you're done for. If we go down, you guys are all going down with us. Yep. I'm just asking questions. Just asking questions. But anyways, that's good stuff. And onward and upward. We are still just. It's just a barely. Are we in the second quarter yet? I think we're just barely still in the first quarter. But it is. It is April 10th. April 10th at 10:19 in the PM here on the East Coast of life. And it's been, let's see, it's been over 100 days now, right? Let's see. Coming up on 100 days, right at 100 days. We're damn close. And that means we got hundreds to go, which is great. Great stuff. Keep fighting, keep moving forward. We need to make sure that we nail down midterms. I know it's early to think about that, but start thinking about it. Maybe you're the right person. Maybe you are the right person. Maybe you are the new next Mr. Awesome, Mrs. Awesome, and get out there and kick ass, take names, and you can start your own channel and just fly right by me. And I'll do reports on your awesomeness. That's what I'll do for you. All right. So speaking of awesomeness, right here in the last quarter of the show, we are going to take a look at another Trump cabinet meeting where he's taking questions, and he's in this awesome room. There he is, just having a blast, having a good old time. He still hasn't got the memo about Diet Coke yet, but at this point, what are we gonna do? We need him to set a good example, though. April 30th is 100 days. April 30th is 100 days. How about that? And well, there we go. You can come celebrate with me on Trump's 100th day in office, on the Daramouth, I hope I say his name right. Daramouth, Rumble channel. It's a Rumble channel where he will interview me about how great Trump is, and I will tell him. As well, I think that I'm gonna try to make sure everybody can get to that. All right, so we'll have some things to come out before we do that, but it'll be a little bit early. I think it starts like 7 or something. Let me see. What do you say? 7. Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern. He goes, would 7 p.m. Eastern work for you? I said, that's awesome. He goes, okay, great. It's booked. Don't forget to bring a towel. What do you think he meant by that? It's weird. All right. Anyways. So yeah, that's where we'll be on the 30th as our world tour continues. All right, here we go. Let's listen to some of the any comments from the crowd. Anybody want to talk about anything border related, or let's see. Yep, Serene. The small towns in my state will probably always be known for cats and dogs, pets. In Ohio. Skibbity, are you in Skibbity, Ohio? He's up in Skibbity, Ohio, right next to T-Rex Trucking and More, who's out of Sigma, Ohio. All right, yep. There we go. Knives everywhere. Knives everywhere. Let's go.
Right. Have a little more room over here.
Everybody's set. Go ahead and ruffle your papers.
We had a very good meeting. We're talking about a lot of different things. Consumer prices have actually dropped. There's very little inflation. Everybody predicted a lot of inflation, very little inflation. The energy costs are down. Interest rates are probably down. They scatter, but they're probably down. Prescription drug prices are even to down, doing very well. It's been amazing. We had a big day yesterday. There'll always be transition difficulty, but we had in history, it was the biggest day in history, markets. So we're
Biggest
very
day in
happy with the way
history.
the country's running. We're trying to get the world to treat us fairly. This is something that should have been done 25 years ago, and it wasn't. Should have been done 40 years ago, and it wasn't. But no president was willing to take it on, but you had to. It's not sustainable. It wasn't sustainable. And as you know, without a lot of money being added, which is a lot of money that we could add, the country is making approximately $2 billion a day.
Nice.
And, when you think
I
of
wish
it,
I was
it's-
making $2 billion a
we've never done
day.
that before. Never come close
What's
to it.
$2 billion a day?
And,
I do.
The number is
I'd work for a
probably
couple
$3.5
days. But that's
billion
good.
dollars a day, and that makes us a very strong country. But we have Scott here and Howard and some of the people that are working on deals, and the biggest problem they have is they don't have enough time in the day. Everybody wants to come and make a deal, and we're working with a lot of different countries.
Give me $1
And it's
billion a
all gonna
day.
work
I'll
out
do
very
it.
well. I think it's going to work out really
Fuck
very
yeah.
well. But
Look at those deals.
we're in good shape. There's no inflation. There's very little inflation.
It was getting done.
And I went 4
$1
years
billion a
without
day,
inflation, and
goddammit.
I tariffed. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China and others, taxes in China. But we took in hundreds of billions of dollars a year from China, and we had no inflation, essentially. So we think we're in very good shape. We think we're doing very well. Again, there'll be a transition cost and transition problems, but in the end, it's going to be a beautiful thing. We're doing again what we should have done many years ago.
Many
Out of control.
years ago.
And we allowed some countries to get very big and very rich at our expense, and can't let that happen. It's not a sustainable formula.
Javon, right?
So I wanted to just thank everybody at the table.
You got it
and
right.
Maybe I'll go around.
Good
and
to see you.
ask,
How you doing?
Some of you a little short couple of answers. Pete just got back from Panama, and he's been all over the place. And you want to give us a little report on that and whatever else you might have to say. Everyone at this table is doing an incredible job, by the way. I have to say, incredible. And the relationships are. It's like they're friends. There's really the relationships are very strong, really good, and really strong. And these meetings are very good. And I think, I don't believe there's any other president that allowed the press to come into a meeting such as this. These are very sacred meetings. These are very private meetings, but we have nothing to hide. And I think it's good. I think it's a good, we want to be, a word you like to use, Jeff, is transparent. So we want to be transparent, and we'll do that by starting with Pete. Go ahead, Pete.
Yes, Mr. President, we just got back from Panama last night. We were at the Panama Canal with their Southcom commander ships, F-18s, troops, and signed a couple of historic deals. One, which is with Panama Canal Authority, a framework for U.S. vessels, first and free through the Panama Canal. And then also a memorandum of understanding with their security minister for the presence of U.S. troops. Fort Sherman is an old U.S. base there, as well as a naval station and air station jointly with Panama to secure the Panama Canal from Chinese influence. That's something you said, we're taking back the canal. China's had too much influence. Obama and others let them creep in. We, along with Panama,
Nasty
pushing them out,
business.
sir. And so we had a very successful trip there. President Molino sends his regards, very complimentary of the U.S.
Molino sends
He's a
his
great ally,
regards,
and
sir.
they want the Communist Chinese out. And with our troops, they're partnering with their forces. We've got a chance to push them all the way out, sir.
We've moved a lot of troops to Panama and filled up some areas that we used to have, and we didn't have any longer, but we have them now. And I think it's in very good control. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Very good.
Let's go. Good job, Pete.
So we've
Mr.
had so
Lightning.
many countries to talk to. It is it's incredible. I think Scott and I, I'm not sure we could ever have enough time in the day to talk to all these
Excuse me, sir.
countries.
Can
They
you
wanna
move your
talk to
big
us
ass
from
head?
now. And they have come with offers that they never, ever would have come with, but for the moves that the president has made.
Do they not see
demanding
that guy's
people
head's
treat
right in the
United
middle in the
States with
way?
respect.
Just
We're getting the
freaking
respect we
move.
deserve now, and I think you're going to see stark deals one after the other. And then I'm very excited that within
It's
a week
Mr.
and a half, we
Pistat.
start the gold card and the Trump card is coming out, and we're very excited about
Throw
that.
down
And
the
that's
Trump card.
coming soon. So very excited.
Thank you very much. Good job. Linda?
Well, on a couple of fronts, we have been addressing the issue of anti-Semitism on campuses. There's been some grant funding and contract funding that we've reviewed, and some canceled and some we put on hold, waiting for that while we do an investigation. On the other side of what my responsibilities are and having education go back to the states, we're meeting and talking with governors. I was with this week all 50 commissioners of education around the country, and because we also want to provide them with tools and best practices as education does move back to the states. Making great progress, great response from the states, and very positive.
Yep. She barely had to use a steel chair. It was awesome.
Colleges, you're holding back 400 million from Columbia,
From Columbia.
8 billion from Harvard. Can you imagine the money we pay Harvard? They have a $60 billion.
They don't need
budget.
it.
We're giving them $8 billion. And
What?
We're trying to figure that out. And then they hire de Blasio, the worst mayor of the history of New York. And they hire the woman from Chicago who was a disaster, total disaster. And they pay them massive salaries. And they're supposed to be teaching you government. That's not Harvard. That's not Harvard the way it used to be. So
That's not Harvard. That's not the Harvard way.
dollars you're holding back from quite a few
Yeah, wait.
universities that
And-
were not
and-
behaving.
Yeah, and the other, there's some Princeton, Cornell, others that are coming in, and actually getting calls now from the presidents of the universities who really do want to come in and sit down and have discussions. And so we're investigating them, but in the meantime, we're holding back the grant and fund money.
Great job. Thank you.
Very thankful for the House voting for the president's budget resolution along with the Senate bill. Made a ton of progress.
This is
week.
nice. We get to hear like updates from. It's like a stand-up meeting. We're just hearing updates from all the cabinet members. So you get to it's a full-on update here. This is nice. This is real nice.
And working with members to ensure that a desire for flexibility in the Senate was not misconstrued as a desire not to slow and do spending reforms. And so we're very thankful for that. And now we can get after writing that bill, getting the president as big a package of his agenda to his desk. So very good week.
That's right. We just got the House vote. And now we're well on our way to getting, as we call it, the great, big, beautiful bill. It's a beauty. There's never been a bill like this one. We're trying to get it all into one beautiful bill. It's tax cuts, regulation cuts, and many other things. The border, a lot of money for the border. Well, you're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
So
updates. Good
we
stuff.
just
Let's
got
go.
a report that we, as you know before us. Were you surprised we got the vote? Got the vote.
Do it.
And we're happy to get the vote. So I think we're going to be in very good shape. Okay, please.
Mr. President, last year, the Chinese received 1,700 orders for new ships. American shipyards received 5. Under your leadership, like so many other industries, we are going to revitalize and make shipbuilding and maritime great again. These blue-collar jobs, these are the cranes, the ports, opportunity zones, and drive that investment back in. We have, under that executive order, and also one to streamline foreign military sales for people that want to buy our equipment, and of course, acquisition reform, all just this week under your leadership, Mr. President.
So we're going to be rebuilding our ship.
Just hold on. My bad. Don't worry. It's all good. It's all good. I'm just keeping you on your toes. All right. There you go.
But we may buy some ships from other countries that we're close to and that do great jobs with ships. But we're going to start the process of rebuilding. We don't really essentially build ships anymore, which is ridiculous.
Let's do it. I know
It's
where
gonna be
you
a very
can
big
build some
business for
ships.
us in the not too distant future. But in the meantime, we have countries that do very well at building ships, and we'll be dealing with those countries, and we may be ordering top of the line ships from those countries. And within a fairly short period of time, we'll be building our own ships. So we'll probably have to go to Congress for that. But
I know where you can
we're not gonna
build
have a
ships.
problem. Susie, thank you very much for the job you've done. Go ahead.
There's a
please.
lot of good
just wanted
places
make
to
sure
build
you
ships.
know that this cabinet, I think, pretty uniquely collaborates and cooperates and works together to accomplish all that you've asked them to do. And I think they deserve a lot of credit for that.
You're doing a great job. The chief of staff, doing a great job. Lee, go ahead.
Mr. President, the Biden EPA was strangulating the economy. The Trump EPA understands it's not a binary choice. We can protect the environment and grow the economy.
Please,
Working
Eldon.
with Doge and Elon Musk, we've now canceled $22 billion worth of grants. And we have launched what is the largest deregulatory action in the history of the country, just in one agency. That's how much of a mess the Biden EPA left us. It is going to end up reducing the cost of living. It's going to create jobs. It's going to make it easier to purchase a car. It'll be easier
Hell
to
yeah.
keep
Hear
your
that?
home.
Everything's going to be
We're
awesome.
proud of this effort. The effort that we have is fulfilling the mandate that you earned from the American public. Clean air, land, and water for all Americans, unleashing energy dominance, permitting reform, advancing cooperative federalism, making America the AI capital of the world, and bringing back American auto jobs. When you called me that day asking for me to take this position, I was honored. And you were very specific and clear in what you wanted us to accomplish. We understand our mission, and at the Trump EPA, we're going to make you proud.
Great job. You're doing a great job. And you have a lot of applications for approvals for power plants, which are going to really power the regular plants, and they're going to be right next to each other because we can't rely on our grid. It's old and it's tired, and it's, very subject to being attacked, whether by rain or by bombs or by anything else. And we're letting people build their own power plants, and these are a lot of them being built with the AI and beyond the AI chips, and we're letting them build their own power. and never been done before. And we're going to get it done quickly and approved quickly as part of a plan. They'll have a sort of be their own power company. And it's very exciting. They couldn't believe it when I told them that. I said, we're going to get you the approvals very fast as part of your regular plan. You're going to build electric producing plants, and it's very exciting. And they're able to do it very quickly and very well. And you made it possible. Thank you. You have a lot of
Nice.
applications for some of the biggest plants
Nice, creative,
that have ever been
innovative,
built in the world.
bleeding
These are
edge.
serious. These are serious plants out there. Huh?
These are some serious plans.
We're open for business. Working with Secretary Burgum, Secretary Wright, we are going to make it proud.
Sean?
First off, Mr. President, it's Brooke's birthday today, so he's getting younger, so happy birthday to Brooke. I want to thank you as well for the shipbuilding EO. Again, to build ships, you also need mariners to sail those ships. I was just up at Kings Point for the Merchant Marine Academy a couple days ago, and we have some of the greatest young men and women who are learning how to be mechanical engineers to rebuild and fix the engines on those ships, but also how to sail ships. I would tell you that over the past decades, this academy has become, it needs some love. It's been a little bit dilapidated. We have to invest in sailors, and I appreciate you taking the initiative. To be a global power, we have to build ships.
I mean,
have
he
sailors
loves
to sail those
he
ships.
loves
These are the
the
very
village
that help
people, like in the
should we
Navy.
come to points of crisis.
There's
to
a
support the
sailor in the
military. So
band.
thank you for that. Number two,
think.
the last
Yeah.
administration announced 3,200 projects, big, beautiful roads and bridges. Most of them are good. But they announced and they didn't sign a grant agreement. 3,200. So the money doesn't go out the door to build the infrastructure in the country. And it's fun to do an announcement. It's actually the harder work to put together these grant agreements. So we're doing the work right now at DOT to get these grant agreements done and build the projects. Most of them are good. And they also put in all of this green and social justice requirements on roads and bridges. We're pulling all that out and putting the money toward the infrastructure, not the social movement from the last administration.
Good steel, right? As opposed to green paper mache. Thanks. Great job.
Sir, first, we are, I would say, more than friends. We've all become family. And I think that what you have assembled in your vision is a turning point and an inflection point in American history. And so just being a part of that is the greatest honor. So thank you for that. And again, just the relationships here and the honor and respect we have for each other is a reflection of you and your leadership. So I just want to say that first. The second thing I want to say is that on behalf of the farmers and ranchers,
Put their names up.
security is national security.
Forbes
We
is
have to be able to
sucking
feed
at this.
ourselves. And your idea of using tariffs along with deregulation and tax cuts, but your idea of using tariffs to ensure that we are putting forward and putting America first. No one
Is it?
understands that better than
I
our
don't know
farmers
if
and our
that's
ranchers.
healthy.
But having said that,
We
emerging
talked
from
more like
4 years
this.
of Biden with a 30%
This
increase
was more
in
like a
inputs
little
for our
country
farmers and
rasp
ranchers,
to
with
it.
an almost $50 billion trade deficit. When we left the first time, it was zero, meaning that they are hurting. So the period of uncertainty we're in, they know that your vision will move us into an age of prosperity for all Americans, but for my people, for the farmers and ranchers, unlike any they have seen
Farmers and
before. And I
ranchers.
think they are really, really excited and so grateful for your
Guess that
leadership.
voice.
But also, you have never
You can do
failed
it.
to say that you have the backs of our farmers and our ranchers.
You
It was
can
the
do
first
it.
phone call that I had after I was voted with the Senate.
Boy.
And that message just resonates with an almost 85% support of you in the last election. They're with you. Interestingly,
That's
the
great.
biggest budget driver at the United States Department of Agriculture is not farming and ranching or agriculture.
Department of Ag.
It's food stamps. And so as we emerge and embark, Secretary Kennedy and I, on your vision of making America healthy again, a massive part of that is realigning and reworking our food stamp program so that it better serves those who need it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, to the
Not
point of
just-
getting
they're just
the
giving it away to people that
transgender,
they think need it.
DEI, Green New Deal out of the USDA and realigning is really important. So
That's out of the
thank you.
military, right? Is it 100% that, would you say?
99.9, sir. I'm going to get that last point.
Get the rest of it. We've got a much different military, I will tell you. Thanks very much. Good job. And eggs are down. Big, right?
Yes.
Big.
Thanks to that one. The eggs.
Easter is the Super Bowl for eggs. So, there may be a little fluctuation, but no, we feel really good about it. Thank you.
That's what I hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. I'd echo what Howard said on the trade queue.
Yeah, the intros here aren't 100%. We're not getting 10s on the intros. Lex, what's up? That was Brooke Rollins, y'all. Lex Entropy swinging in on a chandelier with the right answer. Brooks. That was Brooks, y'all. It's Brooks. All right, Brooks it is for the win.
We've got over 75 countries that want to come in. So it'll be Treasury, Commerce, Jameson at USTR, and we're putting a process in place. And as you said, you're going to be part of the negotiations too, because I've had these countries call me up and the Secretary Bessem, we're happy you're going to be negotiating. Well, President Trump's going to be involved too. So bring their best deal.
He's quite a celebrity these days.
On the budget. It's moving quickly in the House and the Senate, thanks to your leadership. We're also going to have debt ceiling in there, so we're going to get an increase in the
That
debt
is
ceiling.
beset.
So, and that will be.
I knew
the,
that. You
done
can't
and
miss the back of
dusted
that
for
head.
Part of the bill that we just got to vote on today. So
part of the bill. It'll be done and dusted for 2 years. We won't have to worry about that. And then I gave a speech yesterday.
Pam
to
Bondi's next,
1,400
y'all. Pam
small
Bondi
community
coming up.
bankers, and they were so happy to hear from your administration. And I told them Wall Street's done great for the past 4 years, 10 years, 20 years. It can continue doing great, but it's Main Street's turn now. And it's those small bankers through deregulation, through emphasis on Main Street, your Main Street agenda, bringing back jobs, that is going to power the smaller communities. And then finally, the bond auction went very well yesterday. We had a lot of
Bring on the
foreigners
bond
show up
auction.
as the support, showing that the U.S. is still the best place to invest. The inflation report, as you said, was quite good. And energy prices are down more than 20% since January 20th.
Amazing.
good number.
Yes.
Great number.
Thank you.
Phenomenal.
President, we've had some
Pam
great wins in
Bondi.
the last few days that, you
Tell
were
by the ponytail.
overwhelmingly elected by the biggest
Or the
majority.
nameplate.
The U.S. Americans want you to be president because of your agenda. And the courts are ruling that you have the authority to
Bobby over
determine how
there.
the money of this country will
Having
be
a good
spent.
time.
That's what the American citizens wanted, and that's what they're getting. An example of that Friday was the Department of Education, that you can determine how the money will be spent. No more DEI. And that impacts every agency across the board. On the civil side again, NLRB, we had a big win in the Supreme Court there. OPM, a big win there, but also 16,000 workers there. But also on the criminal side, the Alien Enemies Act, we are winning there. And your directive to me was to keep America safe, and that's what we're doing. Whether it's the alien enemies, all of these gangs, and they are enemies of our country. They are terrorists. They are organized crime. They've come here. They are extremely organized. They are spread throughout our country, and they are creating terror. And no more under your directive. And that is stopped. Yesterday in South Florida, we charged 11 defendants with $500 million of pure cocaine coming into our country to kill our kids. They
Sorry,
were caught and
cokeheads.
will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. These gang members are going back to where they came, or they're going to an El Salvador prison at your directive. And you
Oh,
also gave us a
no, no
directive to
party this
prosecute
weekend.
people who are going after Tesla to the fullest extent of the law. Some of the greatest police work I've seen. We've made 4 arrests. There will be no negotiations at your directive. They're all looking at 20 years in prison, and within the next 24 hours, you're going to be seeing another huge arrest on a Tesla dealership, President, and that person will be looking at least 20 years in prison with no negotiations.
That's great.
Keep up the good work, guys.
Cold. Doing a great job, Kate. Thank you very much. All right, please.
Mr. President, accountability matters. That's what we're recognizing. With our partners at the Department of Labor for Government Efficiency, just a few weeks ago, we realized there's about $4.4 billion in COVID funds that were not used, that the state coffers were just holding on to. Out of that, we've returned $1.4 billion back to the state treasury, so essentially to the American people, and we'll go back and claw the rest of those billions of dollars back. And on the heels of that, late last night, we're understanding unemployment insurance fraud. That trust needs to be whole for the American people. When we need it for who deserves it. That's not what we're seeing in the numbers that we saw last night, again, exposed by our partners at DOGE at the Department of Labor. Since 2020, over $400 million of payments have gone out already. And when you hear these numbers, apparently in the United States, we have over almost 25,000 people who are over 115 years old, who are collecting $59 million that we have sent out to people. Talk about fraudulent behavior. Mr. President, 28,000 people between 1 and 5 years old have collected fraudulent payments at the tune of $254 million has gone out. And lastly, 10,000 people who have not been born yet, 15 years into the future, $69 million, and they haven't even been born yet. In one case,
Wow.
they will be born 129
Wow.
years from now. The United States government sent them $41,000, and they're not born yet. So under the Department of Labor, those are the things that we're uncovering. I couldn't be more honored to tell the American people that we're bringing back their dollars, and we're saving them and returning them to the United States Treasury. Also, jobs numbers. Last Friday, 228,000 new jobs were reported. That is good for the American people. That is
Better than
primary
industry
jobs to
jobs.
grow that workforce under your leadership. So we've kicked off the America at Work tour, and we'll be visiting all 50 states. And I'll be working with my colleagues here to do just that. So thank you, Mr. President. We're going to grow this economy. We're going to keep our focus on the American worker.
So you're finding tremendous fraud, though. There's no-
Jacob Castro.
Over 115 years
What's up,
old.
man?
You had mentioned the oldest person in our country is 100 14 years old. That's
reported.
pretty good.
A woman living in Pennsylvania, but apparently there's 24,000 more of them that are 115 or older. That we're
I
seeing.
hope you hear that.
Wow.
So we have 24,000 older than the oldest person.
Definitely did.
I hear you, Elon.
And what are we doing about that? How do we get that money back?
Yeah, so we're working with our IGs to do that further investigation. The House and Senate, we had a 5-year
Round and round we go.
We've got an extension on that, another 5 years. And so the goal, in my opinion, we
Like,
should never have a statute of
You
limitations to
guys
return the
remember
American
all those Biden cabinet meetings, right? Remember that God, they were just like all the time. And they were constantly being transparent, answering questions and giving updates. And you guys remember those, right? They were on all the time. They were literally the most important thing. Did he have any? I don't think he. This is so new, right? You look at this, you're like, what am I seeing here? This is the whole team together giving updates. It's not like they're reading off a script or anything. They're literally giving updates to the president. This is their meeting, and we just happen to be there. Have you anybody ever been part of a presidential cabinet meeting before like this? I mean, dude, we're getting the good stuff here.
dollars back to the Treasury when there's fraud. But at this point, we will continue to work hard and double down and return those dollars to the Treasury.
Right. Thank you.
All right, do it.
Christy?
Get rid of
Mr.
income
President,
tax.
thank you for your leadership at the border. For the second month in a row, you have broken the record in the history of the nation for the lowest number of encounters at the border, which is absolutely remarkable. You have said that America's laws matter and that they'll be enforced, and we're hard at work now to get people to go back home that are here illegally. So the Alien Registration Act has been in place long enough now that those individuals that are here illegally, if they haven't registered, then they can be charged criminally, and they can face fines up to $1,000 a day and face deportation if they don't go home, and they'll never get the chance to come back to America. So
Yeah, right. The cabinet meetings they had back during Biden's day was like in the kitchen. He was trying to get his bran flakes, right? So he could stay regular. That's the only cabinet meeting they ever had when Joe ran the cabinet meeting. He's like, oh, what am I doing here? And she's like, oh, you want the brand. That's it. That's the box up there. Can you get it? We can get somebody to come and get the box of cereal for you, Joe. Yeah, pretty much it. Scooter 01. Not for years this happened. Democrats couldn't because of narrative failure on their part. Narrative failure is a way of life for them, or narrative success, because when you factor in all the useful idiots that buy into their false narrative, it seems to be working just fine on them.
we're encouraging people to use the CBP.
Good to see you, Scooters 01
to register,
over there on the
and we're
YouTube
working
on the
the
Rumble
resources
side.
and funding to buy them a plane ticket to send them home.
I've
I went to
got
El
a cat.
Salvador, Colombia, and Mexico, and those countries and others are thinking about setting up programs to support these individuals when they get back to their country. So when they get there, they'll have housing and food assistance, and so making sure that these folks have the opportunity to go home so that they can get the chance to come back to America is important. And
So it's a very big self-deport operation that we're starting.
thousands of people have already
Yeah.
self-deported. But we're just going to, when you have 21 million people that need to go home because they're here breaking
Good night,
our laws,
MJ.
and we need to facilitate that. And I've been working with the governors a lot lately on several different issues. One of them has been on FEMA for recommendations on how to do exactly what you've directed us to do. And then also I sent a letter and communicated with them that they need to be setting up a SCIF. Some of our governors don't have secure facilities to have national security issues. I think one of the jobs Homeland Security has is to give communication down to states, to local cities and communities. And so recommending they get a SCIF, they have secure comms with them at all times or nearby so that they can have national security conversations, and then to have somebody in their office designated that is their communications person. A lot of them have emergency management officers, but they don't necessarily have somebody designated when it comes to a national security issue that we may need to communicate with them on. And I think American people need to know that Real ID will be required to travel on May 7th. So those
By the
governors
way,
are notified
you
to
already
get
have
that
one.
at home. We don't want anybody to get delayed and not be
You
able to
already have
travel
one.
when they get to an airport. And
If
this
your
will also
license
help us
right
bring
now, you
integrity
already
back
have
to
one.
all of our IDs and how they're used for
I
issuing
want every real
driver's
IDs.
licenses, and
Most
governors
people
know
already
how I
have
feel
them.
about making sure their driver's
Got a
license
star?
system
You got some
has
kind of weird symbol on
integrity,
your
because a
driver's
lot of
license?
people use
You
their
might
driver's
just have a
license to
real
vote.
ID.
And the backbone of our country and the foundation is election integrity. So we're giving all those directions to our governors and communicating that so they can lead on it as well.
And we're going to work with people so that if they go out in a nice way and go back to their country, we're going to work with them right from the beginning on trying to get them back in legally. Is that
They'll get
right?
a chance to come back.
So it gives you real incentive. Otherwise, they never come back. They'll never be allowed once a certain period of time goes by, which is probably going to be 60 days. We're also going to work with farmers that if they have strong recommendations for their farms for certain people, we're going to let them stay in for a while and work with the farmers and then come back and go through a legal process. But we have to take care of our farmers and hotels and various places where they need the people. And we're going to be working with you very carefully on that. So a farmer will come in with a letter concerning certain people saying they're great, they're working hard. We're going to slow it down a little bit for them, and then we're going to ultimately bring them back. They'll go out. They're going to come back as legal workers. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Which I think I think it's very important to do. Okay. Thank you very much. Great job. Jameson, I watched you testify for the last couple of days. You're on every night at 3:00 in the morning. You did great. You were fantastic. Thank you very much.
It's just what I like to do for fun, sir. You've been keeping us very busy. Last week, you started a reordering of international trade, something that hasn't happened for 80 years, something that should have happened decades ago. And you know that.
Right.
You've known that for a long time. That's why you have us all working on this. You came into an emergency situation where President Biden left us with a $1.2 trillion trade deficit. It's the largest
Sure did.
country in human history. The largest. So you declared an emergency. You took action.
You say the largest in history, right?
In history.
There's never
In
there's
history.
never been anything like what he left us.
Never.
He left us a mess. His whole
Not on this side of the
mess.
galaxy.
So go ahead.
Yes, sir.
So you declared an emergency, you imposed a trade action, so now you have a tariff on the world, it promotes U.S. manufacturing, protects U.S. workers, and you've also given room for negotiation.
Yep.
During
It
this
pisses
time,
off
we can open
assholes.
export
It does
markets
all
for
these
farmers
things.
and other producers and American workers. And this is why
It really
the unions
does.
vote for you. This is why the workers vote for you. This is why the families want you to be the president.
Yep. This
You're
is why the
standing up for
corrupt
American
establishment
workers,
hates you.
American communities. We've had countries come in over the
I
past
hate
couple of
'em.
weeks that represent more than half of global domestic GDP. More than half. That's who's coming in to talk to you and to your advisors about how to have reciprocal trade, how to have fair trade. Would have happened without you.
Thank you very much. Great job. Lovely lot.
Elon.
Thanks to
Ding,
your
ding.
fantastic leadership, this amazing cabinet, and the very talented Doge team, I'm excited to announce that we anticipate savings in FY26 from reduction of waste and fraud by $150 billion.
Oh, 150
and
billion.
some of
That's
it is
pretty
just
damn good.
absurd. Like people getting unemployment insurance who haven't been born yet. I mean, I think anyone can appreciate whether, I mean, come on, that's just crazy. Some of these things, people ask me like, well, how are you going to find waste and fraud in the government? I'm like, well, actually just go in any direction. That's how you find it.
Really?
It's very common.
It's very
as
easy
most
to
people
find.
say, target rich environment. So I think we're doing a lot of good and excellent collaboration with cabinet to achieve these savings. And will actually result in better services for the American people, and that we're going to be spending their tax dollars in a way that is sensible and fair and good.
And your people are fantastic. In fact, hopefully they'll stay around for the long haul. We'd like to keep as many as we can. They're great, smart, sharp, right? Finding things that nobody would have thought of. Very computer savvy.
We're working really hard to get the Trump Vault card operational, hopefully in the next week or so.
That'll be very exciting.
Very exciting.
That's a pathway to citizenship into the United States.
It's a big deal.
Yep, it's a big deal. Thank you very much. Great job you're doing.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to your leadership and setting the mandate
Tulsi,
of
that's
transparency
Tulsi.
and accountability across the U.S. government. I'm bringing that transparency and accountability to the intelligence community, first and foremost, to make sure that you and your cabinet have that real-time, relevant, apolitical, objective intelligence to best inform whether it's negotiations for peace, negotiations around
You time
tariffs,
this just
the
right,
great work
don't we?
that you are leading around the cabinet today. Secondly, working with the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI to increase our information sharing to achieve your goal of countering the narcotic trafficking and our ability to go after cartels now designated as foreign terrorists. I met with the National Sheriff's Association this week, being able to work to make sure that the information that they are getting on the ground, that local law enforcement is getting on the ground, is being fed back up through to our National Counterterrorism Center, and that we have all of the federal agencies, state and local law enforcement all on the same page as we are working to make our country safe again. And lastly, sir, as you know, declassification and rooting out weaponization, politicization of the intelligence community is a huge priority. You know more than anyone else the very dangerous and negative consequences of that. I've got a long list of things that we're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this, election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections. And lastly, we've been scanning. I've had over 100 people working around the clock to scan the paper around RFK, Senator Robert F. Kennedy's assassination, as well as Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. These have been sitting in boxes in storage for decades. They have never been scanned or seen before. We'll have those ready to release here within the next few days.
That's great. Bobby, how do you feel about that? That's hitting,
I'm very
that's hitting
gratified.
close, that's hitting close to home, isn't
Yeah,
it?
no
When you
kidding.
think, I'm thinking about Bobby when that statement's made.
I'm very grateful to you, Mr. President.
And you'll let Bobby see some of this because, it's very personal stuff. But it's time.
I've asked him, and his response is, put it out. The world needs to know the truth.
And his uncle that's been out and anything that hasn't been out, they can go to your offices and see, right?
Everything that we have within our possession, it's either online or it's physically at the National Archives and Records Agency. We also have hunters going out, Mr. President, and looking in the storage lockers at FBI and CIA. And
I'm a
agencies,
hunter.
specifically to find if there is anything.
Good night, Siobhan. Thanks for being here. Hope to see you again soon. Take care.
Yeah, we want to.
We're almost out of here.
100%.
We got a few
Thank
more
you very
minutes.
much. Good job, guys.
Hey, there's Scott Freedom from the Great White North. What's up, Scott? Good to see you, buddy.
Chinese Communist Party and
Good to
fighting
see
for
you.
our,
How have you
main streets for
been?
our workers and for those that make things in America. I'm out on a Made in America manufacturing tour, and as I go across the country,
Look at this. This is
people
gonna be
are
perfect.
grateful
I think
to
we're
have a
gonna
president who's not just fighting on
get
the
through
terrorist
all
front,
these
but to
guys
get
in time
inflation
to
down,
hit the
create
11
jobs.
p.m.
After Biden
stop
destroyed
time.
110,000 manufacturing jobs.
Scott,
in
what's
just
been
his last
going on,
year,
dude?
we've already brought back thousands
What's
and
new?
thousands of manufacturing jobs. So the American worker is grateful. Main Street is grateful for you. And at the agency level, we're making sure that manufacturers have access to the capital they need, but we can't do that if we're not fighting fraud. So we've modified our loan applications to have citizenship verification, to make sure we have birth dates, common sense principles around lending that the Biden administration had waived. They waived $450 million of fees in 1 year. We're restoring that for the American taxpayer. And the American taxpayer, as tax day approaches, April 15th, they need to know that this cabinet, this administration, and thank you, Elon Musk and Doge, for fighting for the American taxpayer to make sure that their hard-earned dollars are well spent, that they have a return on investment for this country, and that we're fighting for them just as you are every single day. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
What do you think your favorite
Mr.
drink
President,
is?
we are working at HHS to advance your agenda.
I know his favorite
Healthy
drink is
again.
protein shake.
I'm working with Lee Zeldin to reassess the fluoride rules based upon the August release by the National Toxicity Program.
Get it
of new
out.
Science that shows a direct inverse correlation between exposure to fluoride and IQ loss, particularly in
Yeah.
children. Lee and I were.
It's a great correlation between the fluoride and they say it's in the water and chemical runoff.
To announce that Utah became the first state in the country to ban supplemental fluoride. I'm working with Brooke on and governors now in 24 states who are advancing MAHA legislation to get soda pops off of the food stamp program, off the SNAP
Yes.
program. We've launched Operation Stork Speed to get the bad chemicals out of baby formula. We're working with governors across the country to get good food into
Nice.
the school lunch programs and to get rid of food chemical dyes and other bad chemicals in our food. We've shown now that this directly affects academic performance, violence in the schools, and mental health, as well as physical health. We are working with governors across the country to get cell-to-cell or bell-to-bell legislation to restrict the use of cell phones in schools, which again dramatically impacts academic performance. Today we announced a dramatic reduction in animal testing at NIH and FDA. We're going to switch over to AI, which we've now found is much more precise in identifying the impacts of toxics in various products. We're working with Elon, who's done an incredible job to eliminate the redundancies and to streamline operations at all the health agencies and to recalibrate our trajectory to your agenda of making America healthy again. And finally, on the CDC has done an amazing job at getting the measles outbreak under control. We have about 680 cases now in 22 states, compared to the same outbreak in Europe, which is 127,000 cases and 37 deaths. Our numbers in this country have now plateaued. And I want to thank CDC for that. And we're trying to refocus the press. We've had 3 measles deaths in this country over 20 years. And we're trying to refocus the press to get them to pay attention to the chronic disease epidemic as you've asked us to. We have now 38% of American youth are pre-diabetic. This was unknown 30 years ago. Every child that becomes diabetic, there should be a headline about them. We have 100 million adults who are pre-diabetic or diabetic. And we have, we have now the autism rates have gone from now most recent numbers we think are going to be about 1 in 31, from 1 in 12. So they're going up again from 1 in 10,000,
when I was a kid. And we are going, at your direction, we are going to know by September. We've launched a massive testing and research effort that's going to involve hundreds of scientists from around the world. By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
So big. Think of that. So it was 1 in 10,000 Joe had autism, and now it's 1 in 31. Not 31,000, 31. That's a horrible statistic, isn't it? And there's got to be something artificial out there that's doing this. So you think you're going to have a pretty good idea, huh?
We will know by September.
There will be no bigger news conference than that. So that's it. If you can come up with that answer where you stop taking something, you stop eating something, or maybe it's a shot, but something's causing it. It can't be from 10,000 to, can you imagine that, Martha? That's a big number. Thank you very much. You're doing great. Thank you, Bobby. Please.
Well, Mr. President, one of your primary
Almost there.
administration goals is to make sure that we unleash American energy. And of course, the strategy behind that is when we do that,
Scott Hodbeck.
make it more affordable for
What's
all
up?
Americans. Energy
How
is
you
the
doing?
industry. It is the foundation of every other industry, whether it's food, manufacturing, clothing, transportation. And then also when we've got the ability to generate and not just be energy independent, but energy dominant, then we have the opportunity to sell energy to our friends and allies versus them buy it from our adversaries. And our adversaries were funding terrorism and conflicts against our allies by their oil and gas sales that were going through a Swiss cheese set of sanctions. So with your creation of the National Energy Dominance Council, over half the people at this table serve on that. Everyone has been engaged, whether it's interactions with negotiations with other countries, with putting sanctions in place that actually work, with cutting deregulation, working on biofuels, building infrastructure for transportation. There's a whole range of things that are being tackled. But when in the outcome of all that is that the Biden administration was restricting supply. You're increasing supply. When you increase supply, then prices start to come down. And we have huge opportunity to do this. Just in interior alone, there's 500 million acres of surface, 700 million acres of subsurface, and 2.5 billion acres of offshore. And the Biden administration was trying to restrict this so that you couldn't get the timber lease, you couldn't cut a tree, you couldn't graze a cow, you couldn't develop oil and gas minerals, and you couldn't develop the critical minerals we need for our technology, for our defense industries, and to be able to help us win the AI arms race against China. So we're opening up this.
Right.
Your executive orders and your work. We've on Tuesday, historic day, you ended the war on beautiful clean coal, which has been going on since Obama took office. China gets 60% of their electricity from coal. They're opening up they've opened up 94 gigawatts of coal in the last year as part of this AI arms race. 94 gigawatts, that's enough for 94 Denvers to be able to 1 gigawatt per metro area like that. It's unheard of. So we have an opportunity under your leadership to come back. The Gulf of America had its first offshore lease sale, which is scheduled for later this year. But that was the industry loved that because we're now the Gulf of America is now open for business again, and there's as much as 7 billion barrels of oil accessible now. They've increased the
Greatest Gulf in the world.
What they think that is on the coal front. The estimate is the financial value of the coal in America is $8 trillion. That was an asset on the balance sheet that we've now being put back on again. And of course, in Alaska, with your separate executive orders to unleash Alaska energy between ANWR, the North Slope, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve Alaska, all of those we've reversed Biden decision. Those are all open for business again. And all of this is leading to the investment coming to America. The smart money is coming to the U.S. That's why we've got trillions of dollars of investment that are showing up at the door because they know if they're going to do manufacturing here, there's going to be energy to power their plants. And so, again, thank you for your leadership and thank you for everything you're doing.
Very good. Thank you.
Well, Mr. President, one of the most important things I believe you'll achieve in your presidency is reordering the world in a proper way. For 31 years,
Mr. Marco,
31 years now,
give us the logical explanation, sir. Being from Vulcan.
To take away jobs and factories and pillars of our national strength. And what you're doing now, I think, is a great service to our country, but ultimately to the world. And I want to congratulate you and your team that's working on that because it has extraordinary geopolitical implications, as you see from all these other
Quite
countries.
logical, Mr. Marco.
Join something that actually makes it's crazy to allow these. I mean, basically, we lived in a world where Chinese companies can do whatever they want in America. But
Lefty, what's up? How you doing, man?
Unless they allow it, and even then, they steal our stuff. And
Vote Vulcan. Vote Vulcan.
Dramatic implications on peace and security of the world. So we thank you. An important meeting, thanks to you, is going to happen.
He can't run for
Saturday.
president.
First time in a long time. Will be
Oh, yeah, he's from another planet.
And a top-level leader.
He tried it one time, then we got on to him.
Very clear
You
what
can see
Iran's
him
never going to
off.
have is a nuclear weapon. And I think that's what led to this meeting. And we'll wait for him to come back from it. And we're hopeful about that. I would also say that we are receiving, and I think the Department of Homeland Security can confirm this historic cooperation from countries all over the world. Number one, in taking back their citizens. Every country in the world has to take back people that are illegally in another country. And we have countries that refuse to do it or kind of ignore our calls. All of them are doing it. The ones that are not are paying the price. And we've also found cooperation in other countries that are willing to take some of these people, some very dangerous criminals. I know the president of El Salvador will be here next week, has really been a good friend of the United States in that regard. These are some of the worst people you'll ever encounter. And Pam knows this, and Christy knows this from the work they're doing. And one last point I want to make, Mr. President, again, it's under your leadership, actually under your executive order. If you come to this country as a student, we expect you to go to class and study and get a degree. If you come here to like vandalize a library, take over a campus and do all kinds of crazy things, we're going to get rid of these people, and we're going to continue to do it. So when we identify lunatics like these, we take away their student visa. No one's entitled to a student visa. The press covers student visas like there's some sort of birthright. No, a student visa is like me inviting you into my home. If you come into my home and put all kinds of crap on my couch, I'm going to kick you out of my house. And so, that's what we're doing with our country, thanks to the president. And last but not least, very important development.
Get out.
Pam and I are very excited. The finest higher education institution in the United States, University of Florida, is also now a national champion in basketball. We hope you'll host them here soon, Mr. President. Go Gators.
They're coming. They're coming. Well, thank you very much. You're really doing a great job. We appreciate it. Any question?
Mr. President, can you give us a reaction to today's stock market drop and also give us a sense of the next steps with China?
Well, I haven't seen it because I've been
Very
here
big
for
steps.
2.5 hours, so I'll
Steps
be seeing
like
it. I think
you've
Scott
never
might
seen
have- Scott,
before.
you want to have a statement on that?
Sure. Look, the up 2, down 1 is not a bad ratio. or
Scott
up 10,
Bassett
down
is a
5.
go-to guy on this.
And I think as we have talked about, as we go through the queue and settle with these countries who are going to bring us their best offers, we will end up
I can't do
in a
that.
place of great certainty over the next 90 days on tariffs.
Can't do it.
But we had very good inflation numbers today. Oil's down. We had a successful bond market. So I don't see anything unusual today.
And next steps for China, sir?
Well,
Well, if they don't take the tariff deal, we'll just bomb them. How about that?
Work a deal. They've really
Pump
taken advantage
Biden's
of our
nuclear
country for a
war
long
with
period of
China.
time. They've ripped us off beyond nobody. How people stood for it, sitting in my position, is not even believable.
Oh, it's
And we're
not.
talking
It's
about
corrupt.
Many presidents, not just a couple. But
Couple.
they did, and all we're doing is putting it back in shape. We're resetting the table, and I'm sure that we'll be able to get along very well. I have great respect for President Xi. He's been in
Yeah,
a
he
true
will
sense
learn how to
a friend
get.
of mine for a long period
He
of
will
time.
learn how to fall in
And I
line.
think, that
Be a
we'll
good
end up looking
commie.
at something that's very good for both countries. I look forward to it.
Mr. President, China retaliated today by reducing the number of American films that can be shown there. What's your
Oh no,
reaction
not
to
American
our
films.
cultural exports from the United
Oh
I think
no.
I've heard of worse things.
I mean,
Yes.
oh no, don't throw me in the briar patch, China. Oh, not our films. No. Well, I don't know. I think we're gonna keep the tariffs on now. But no, stop. No, you're gonna keep people from seeing the Alec Baldwin film. Oh no. You're gonna keep people from seeing the broke ass Minecraft film. Oh no, don't stop. Oh yeah. Don't get us there. What are you gonna do next? What are you gonna do next? Huh? What are you gonna do next? Stop rap music from being played? No, please don't. No.
Also on China, the Ukrainians say they have evidence that Chinese soldiers being found fighting for the Russians in Ukraine. Can the US verify this? And if so, what does the US plan on doing to China?
You spelled China like
We'll
the
look
wrestler.
into it, but I think beyond that, we're really looking to get that war stopped. They're losing 2,500 and even more than that young people a week. They're Russian and they're Ukrainian. They're not American, but they're people.
And some are
And we'll see if we
Chinese,
can
just
get
to be
it
fair.
stopped. And I think we're making progress. I appreciate the ballerina who
We're almost out of here.
released. It was at the request
First
of a
stupid
very good
question.
friend of all of ours, actually. Dana White called me and he said it's the friend or the relationship of one of the fighters for UFC or one of the fighters. And Dana's an incredible
Stop
guy.
making
And he
sense.
Spoke to President Putin about
I'm
it.
just asking
They made a
questions.
deal. They released the young
No
ballerina,
answers.
and she is now out. And that
You
was
can
good,
come
so we
here and
appreciate
get your own
that. We hope that
answers.
we're gonna
Make
be
them
able to
up.
Make a deal
Make them up. I don't care.
relatively soon with Russia and Ukraine to stop the fighting.
I'm only
It's
asking
so
questions.
senseless. It's such a horrible thing. Would have never happened if I were president, but it did happen, and we were given
It's a
that
new
card.
platform. I just answer
And
questions. I
I
just
think
ask
we're going to
questions.
get it stopped. Got to get going.
Flood in
We
and
gotta
buy
we
my
have to
shit.
move it faster. Likewise with the hostages.
Just ask.
We're making progress.
Maybe this
there's
has
50
video
million
Israel.
hostages, but only 24 of them are living, and that's the
Just
way it's
asking
been
questions.
presented to me by the mothers of some of the dead mothers and fathers of some of the dead hostages, and they want the bodies of their baby, as they say, their baby, their young boys. They want them back as much as if they were alive. It's amazing because when I met the hostages 2 weeks ago,
They
here,
settle for
I
an
couldn't
immense
believe what they had to go through,
memory.
by the way. But when I met them, he
Dedication.
said, "Yeah, there's 59, but 24 are living," and they actually consider, I guess, if you're a parent, you do consider it this way, that the remainder who are dead, the 24 that are alive, the remainder that are dead, they want them back just as much as they would want them back if they were alive. It's really pretty amazing and pretty sad.
We don't.
So we're getting close to getting them back. We have a lot came back. A lot of people are very grateful. And some came back in pretty bad shape. Some came back. They're okay. I think they're going to be scarred mentally for a long time because if you sit down and talk to them, as I have, and what they went through is incredible. But we're making progress. We're dealing with Israel. We're dealing with Hamas, and it's a nasty grid.
So how close are you to the first country coming to actually make a deal with the United States over tariffs? Is it days, months?
Well, I think it's very close. We have to have a deal that we like. We don't want a deal that's going to be a bad deal, or I could make every deal in one day if I wanted to. I could do this all in one day. I could just say, here's what we'll do. And I was saying to the people before, to Scott, mostly to Scott and Howard, and some of the other people that work with us on the negotiations. We have a lot of law firms that have paid me a lot of money in the form of legal fees. We're going to probably use those firms to, if we can, I think we can, I'll make a contribution to the country. But the great firms are the best firms, the biggest, and really the most prestigious. And we may be using them to help you guys out because you need a lot of lawyers. And I'm not sure Pam's going to be happy. Can you send over about 200 lawyers? And trade? She's working on criminal stuff, and I think that's going to be her focus more than anything else. So we'll find out if we can do that. But we have a lot of lawyers that we've been reading about where they paid $100 million a firm on average. Now we have the final 4 or 5 are
100 million.
So I have a lot of legal fees I could give to you people, and we might as well use them. Hopefully, I won't need that many legal fees or that much. I may. Who knows? After it ends, after we leave, maybe I'll need it. But if I do, it's not going to be very pleasant. So I think we're going to try to use these very prestigious firms to help us out with the trade because we have a lot of countries, but we want to make deals that are proper for the United States. Not just we can make deals easily. We want to make them proper.
But if you aren't able to reach the deals that you want to see at the end of the 90 days, will you put those higher tariffs in place, or will you?
Well, that's what would happen. I mean, if we can't make the deal that we want to make, or we have to make, or that's good for
Makes
both parties,
sense. Makes
it's good for both
sense.
parties. And then we go back to where we were.
Go back to the numbers that you announced last week.
I think so.
You wouldn't extend pause?
No, we'll have to see what happens at that time.
Thank you, Senator. You said yesterday you were considering some exceptions for companies. Can you talk about what you're considering, and also under tariffs that would be substantially lower? Is the same math for revenue users that?
They're in
I'm not
super
considering
fast
for
mode
any,
now.
Country or company, but it's possible that I would. But I'm not. We don't have that situation right now. People understand where we are, what we're going to do, but it could happen. It's called flexibility. You have to have certain flexibility.
What are you planning on using the money to do after the tariffs off?
Paying down national debt, reducing taxes, creating good budgets, helping Christie with the border and all of the other things. I built hundreds of miles of wall, as people now understand, 571 miles of border wall.
Oh yeah, the most wall ever by anybody.
And the numbers are incredible. Really, the numbers are what's taking place. We had great numbers, but these numbers are topping my last.
Hold on. I was trying to get through it, but here we go.
Hey, buddy, you tired?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't keep your eyes open?
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been nodding off a little bit.
Yeah.
It's okay, buddy.
Yeah.
If you want to go to sleep, you go ahead, go to sleep.
Good night, Wolfram. Thank you for all that you do. Sleep well. Sweet dreams, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Administration, and Christie and Tom Homan have done an amazing job. But it's an expensive process. This weekend, where they used to have hundreds of thousands of people standing there.
How about that? He has an intro and an outro video. How about that? You never noticed.
In Tijuana, Mexico. This weekend, they
The
had
wolf
nobody.
mask on that kid.
You had a man sweeping this massive piece of concrete, which is, the area where they said massive. And I've looked at that during the Biden administration. You couldn't see a piece of that concrete. There were so many people on it. You couldn't, if you had a helicopter shot.
All right, I think we get it. Hey, that was a great cabinet meeting, and they're going to ask him the same questions, and he's going to answer them again. But we got it. We got it, guys. We got it. We did it. We did it. We did it. We did it. And I would just like to say thank you guys so much for being here this evening. I appreciate each and every one of you every time you're here, and whether you're here or not, I still appreciate you, especially if you support the channel on a monthly basis or do your best to do so. I appreciate that as well. No matter where you're at, what platform you're on, every little bit helps, and I definitely do appreciate you, and especially everybody that's always here, showing up, giving the likes, sharing the vibe, all that stuff. That all matters too. It all matters. You are the crowd. You make the show go off, and that's why we love you. All right, guys. Tomorrow night, Friday edition, winning tonight. Let's hope that we got some good stuff to go over, or I'll just see you Saturday for a winning Saturday night. I will take into account everything before I subject you to a show invite there. or promotion shall it be. Anyways, hope you guys had fun today. I always have fun hanging out with you, and I'm glad you choose to be here and be part of the solution. We will keep on rocking and rolling throughout this grand year known as 2025, where everything seems to be coming up winning. Let's just keep doing it that way. All right. Keep us in your thoughts, prayers, and all that kind of stuff. We're on our way, guys. I'm going to send YouTube to the goats, and I'm going to send our Rumble ambassadors over to Badlands Media. Who evidently maybe are they still on? Hold on. I got an errors. Wait, they should still be on, unless they went off early. They did go off early. You son of bitches. You son of bitches. All right. Well, screw it then. Rumble, just be awesome. That's what you do. All right, guys. I will see ya very soon. And until that time, everyone, stay base and keep on winning.
If you've lost faith in humanity, clap your hands. If you've lost faith in humanity, and this is your villain origin story, if you've lost faith in humanity, clap your hands.
This is a friendship battle.